That's encouraging.
It was Irwin. And now I mention it. Now you mention it. I did skim it, and I went. It's just like the other one.
It's a hot mic.
Okay, he's not getting the emails that we're doing to ANC commissioners.
Oh.
You know how we blank?
Are we recording yet? Okay, the mics are on, guys. We're ready to start.
That's my 7:30 wake up call.
I like it. I like it.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. It's the public meeting of ANC 3F, coming to order at 7:40. First thing we'll do is establish a quorum and introduce ourselves. I'm Malik Nugent. I'm the chair of ANC 3F and the commissioner for 3F06. David?
Hi, good evening. I'm David Dickinson. I'm commissioner for ANC 3F01, newly elected about 2 months ago.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm Sally Gresham, ANC 3F04.
Mary Beth Ray, 3F3.
Shirley Adelstein, 3F2.
And Pat Shakopchik, 3F07.
Okay, thank you. We have a quorum being 4, so it's an official meeting. First order of business is to approve the agenda. There are copies of the agenda outside for everyone. Are there any changes, additions, subtractions that people would like to make?
No.
No? Then I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, since Andrea's not here, we need someone to take minutes. Volunteers?
I got too much to do.
All right, someone's got to do it.
David, he's new.
Yeah, all right, I'll do it. I'm not a great note taker, but
David! Not David.
It's like at the Supreme Court, the youngest
make a motion to
justice
adjourn the meeting.
has to open the door.
Okay. So the next order of business is to approve the minutes from our last meeting. Andrea, who is our secretary, our commission secretary, circulated the minutes. Were there any changes, additions, deletions, amendments? No? So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meetings as circulated by Andrea.
Second.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 6-0-0. Okay, so we'll move on to commissioner announcements. Pat, you want to start?
So I have 2 announcements. The National Park Bio Blitz will be held this Friday and Saturday to search for aquatic life in our district's waterways. Our very own Soapstone and Melvin Payson Parks and Trails Committee, Kathy Wiss, will be leading a tour at Soapstone on Saturday the 21st. It begins at 10 a.m. and goes till noon. You should bring some footwear that can get wet if you're interested. You will be going into the creek. And if you're interested in more information, just email me at pat.jakopchik@gmail.com. It's on the website. And then the second announcement is the Connecticut street project related to the Tilden Hall rehab will be beginning in earnest this Friday with the heavy construction to begin the following Monday. This is the project we learned about at our last meeting. It should last about 5 weeks with intermittent lane closures throughout.
I have 3 announcements. First, coming up in June will be our next ANC 3F02 quarterly community meeting. That's coming up on June 28th at 7:30 p.m. in the 3003 Van Ness Social Room. It's open to all residents of ANC 3F2. Please email me if you have any questions about that. I'd also like to announce 2 events that were passed along to me. One is coming up on June 11th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Convention Center will be the DC 8th Annual Housing Expo and Home Show. So this event will have a variety of workshops and exhibits of interest to both owners and renters, including topics like tenant and landlord resources, aging in place, remodeling and repairs and so forth. And an additional event of potential interest, particularly to our senior community, is coming up as part of Iona's Senior Services Advocacy Series. There will be an introduction to the Office of the Attorney General. That's June 14th at 2:00 p.m. At Iona Senior Services at 4125 Albemarle Street Northwest.
And that reminds me to remind everyone, please send these events to the website so that we can put them on our calendar. Pat, you had a couple too, right? Put those on the calendar.
Okay.
Thanks.
We can send the original, right?
Yeah, send
Events
it.
at.
Right. Nothing from me.
Can you remind us how to do that?
Just put the details in an email and send it to events@anc3f.com. And then Rachel will get it and she'll promote it on
Oh,
the
okay.
calendar.
Okay. Or I can just email it. Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. Thank you, Rachel.
And she'll get it.
Let's see. I have 7 announcements, but they're all really short, I promise. Last month, we reported that Councilmember Che had resubmitted the former Polish ambassador's residence as a possible location for the Ward 3 family homeless shelter. Y'all have probably been reading in the Washington Post and other places about trying to close DC General. And so Councilmember Che resubmitted 3101 Albemarle Street as a potential location. And there was some neighborhood concern about that. This afternoon, I received an email from Councilmember Che saying that through the council's process, they have changed the location to 3320 Idaho Avenue, which is the police station. There's apparently space on that property for a shelter, and it's owned by the city already, so they wouldn't have to purchase the property, tear down a building, change the zoning, and build a new structure. So anyway, I think that's good news, and apparently the community over there by the cathedral is, I think they've been supportive of that site. So hopefully that's going to work out. Second announcement, actually, Teresa, you're here, so I'm going to let you do the Van Ness Main Street announcements, okay? The DDOT's Public Space Committee, are you going to report on that, or no? So on April 28th, the Public Space Committee met to hear the application of the Chick-fil-A curb cuts and other projects. And the Public Space Committee denied the application for 2 curb cuts, which effectively denied the drive-through. So we have reached out to Chick-fil-A to find out whether they're still interested in the Van Ness location. And to date, we have not heard back from them, and the next steps are not clear. Let's see. The next announcement, I'd like to thank Kimberly Ross and Girl Scout Troop 163 for their excellent Soapstone Valley cleanup. Several weeks ago, they picked up about 20 bags of litter. Thanks also to Rock Creek Conservancy for their volunteer help and coordination. And with all the recent rain, it might be time to consider installing more wood chips. You might have noticed the abandoned house on Linian Street between Davenport and Ellicott. The grass is now waist high. And I just learned yesterday that it's been purchased by a developer, and they're planning to tear it down. And I'm trying to get the name of the developer to have them clean that up. I want to congratulate the Forest Hills Connection, Marlene Berlin and Tracy Jonke and all the volunteers who helped with Art Walk. on Sunday, which was just terrific. I don't know if anybody else was able to attend. We had about 80 people attending, and just a lively group of participants and artists, and it was just a really exciting time to see artist studios, and made us very proud to live in Forest Hills. And finally, you see spread out on the table here thank you notes from the children at Hearst Elementary School. So I always think it's a little odd to thank people for a thank you note, but anyway, in this case, I think it's appropriate.
And they were thanking the ANC for a grant that the ANC provided last year. As many of you know, the school's undergone a significant renovation, and so it was a nice grant from the ANC to support the library and furthering the education of the kids there. And it was neat to see them be so creative.
Great. So Rachel's going to get some pictures and put some of these up on our website. That's all.
Okay, I have 5 announcements, 3 under one thing. Park Van Ness, well, another big shout out is due for Saul and Clark because they met their targeted April certificate of occupancy date, and they are continuing to put in wonderful landscaping. They have large willow oak trees in and lush plantings, so we applaud them for that, for the public space. The building is open, and tenants have started to move in. There are probably 10 tenants that are in it right now. 50 apartments out of the 271 have been leased as of early May. The rooftop pool and deck will open on Memorial Day weekend. Construction activities, well, they're still building. Continuation and completion of the site work, especially in the public areas in the back. The motor courtyard has to have all new cobblestones put in because they sent the wrong ones. The soft landscaping both on Connecticut and at the easement. There's a 6-foot easement on the back of the property with National Park Service, and Saul agreed to plant that with native plants. So that is being done now. Just so you all know, there will be a social gate that the residents can use at the south end of the site that will go into Soapstone Park. I think we need to know that from the Soapstone Committee. They can only get it into it with their fobs in and out, so it's a security thing, but there will be probably a new trail blazed back there. So that's something for our ANC to know. They're continuing on the interiors and the rooftop deck. 2 businesses, Sophia Restaurant and Soapstone Market, are Park Van Ness's 2 commercial recent tenants. Sophia will be located at the southern retail end of the space, and Soapstone Market will be at the north side. Sophia Restaurant is in the first phases of interior and exterior design drawings, and as of today, we received the public space application for the exterior design. We have 30 days to respond, which is exactly our ANC meeting. So we may have to ask for an extension on that. The restaurant representatives and their design team will be here next June 21st at our next meeting to present the design and get comments from the audience on their proposed canopied entrance area, canopied enclosed area, and canopied open sidewalk cafe area. Soapstone Market has started their build out already, and the tenant fit-up spaces and the exterior space drawings are in progress per Saul. They're reviewing those as we speak. The targeted opening date for Soapstone is in early fall, and Sophilina is at the end of this year, November, December. Forest Hills Park and Playground update. The Capital City Little League is in full swing, even in the wet field, and representatives of DPR, DGS, and CCLL, Capital City Little League, are continuing to work on a list of improvements. There's a lot to do there. The Friends of Forest Hills Playground annual cleanup is this coming Saturday from 10 to 11:30. Well, with all the recent rain, they have a rain date for June 4th. So put that on your calendars. Volunteers are wanted. Bring rakes, brooms, gloves, trash bags. The little ones can come and help sweep all the sand they take and put everywhere else in the playground. So bring brooms, and donations for donuts and coffee. This is what they've asked me to say. For all the workers are welcome, so please come and help. Everybody loves the playground. Friends of Forest Hills Playground is also doing their annual picnic in the park, and Tracy is here tonight to talk to us more about it, since we have to do a letter of support from the ANC. The first concert is this Friday, June the 24th, from 5 to 7:30, and the band is called Spread Love Band. It's a brass combo that plays jazz and pop tunes. The remaining concerts will be Friday, July 29th, with the Big Billy Bluegrass Band, which was there last time and everybody loved. And on August 26th, there will be Marcia and the Pistrons, a group that's led by Marcia Goodwin Wood, who performed last year, and everybody loved her. So please check out the Friends of listserv. There will be more information on there, and Tracy will tell us more tonight.
I just have one announcement. Actually, it relates to item 7 on the agenda. I don't see representatives from DGS or DPR. Oh, hi, Jackie. Sorry, I didn't see there. Ms. Stanley from DGS will go into further detail during item 7, but I just wanted to let folks know that last Tuesday, May 10th, representatives from DGS, the Department of General Services, and the Department of Parks and Rec, or DPR, held a public meeting at Hearst Elementary's new gymnasium to initiate the park design phase for Hearst Park, and we'll hear more about that. But I think if you want to summarize that as well as what happened last week, or I can do that during your presentation.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And again, remember to send all of those events to
We
the
have.
website.
He just doesn't get them.
Okay, next item on the agenda is committee reports. Do we have any?
Yeah, I have a brief one. The Soapstone, Melvin Hazen, Parks and Trails Committee met last Monday, the 9th. At that meeting, we were joined by a guest speaker, Joelle Bergard from the Anacostia Watershed Society. She gives a very interesting presentation on the River Smart Communities program, talking about some of the funds available for some of the stormwater mitigation projects on the more the larger level for businesses, nonprofits, and schools. Not schools, excuse me. That's a separate program. It's very interesting. We'll be looking to institute some of those programs throughout the ANC. We also officially approved 3 subcommittees of our committee dealing with projects and partnerships, the Soapstone Valley Sewer Rehabilitation Project, and stormwater mitigation. If you're interested in that, we meet on the first Monday of every month right here in Forest Hills, DC, just down the hall in the small conference room. So please join us. And I'm sorry, it's the second Monday of every month.
Okay, thank you. So now we're going to move to the open forum. If anybody in the community has something they would like to discuss, please come on up to the microphone, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm not from the immediate community. You sure? All right, thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Valencia, and this is Lisa. We're with Initiative 76. Initiative 76 is attempting to collect enough signatures from DC registered voters so that we can get have the initiative on the ballot in November to increase the minimum wage to $15 by the year 2020. So we were trying our best to get here before your meeting started so that we could catch people, you know, before they came into the meeting. Now, looks like we're in store for a two-hour meeting, and we will be here after the meeting to catch as many of you as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carol Rogers. This is my colleague Ambrose Lane. I'm a resident of Ward 3, actually live down on Upton Street, though I was telling Ambrose before my husband and I bought our house there, we lived right here in Ellicott House, so this is like in our back door. As you all know, this Saturday is the DC Democrats' primary qualifying caucus to elect delegates for Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders to go to the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia. And Ambrose and I are part of a 6-person slate, the Hill Yeah slate. We are pledged to support Hillary Clinton as our candidate for president. And we also are pledged to lobby at the convention for D.C. statehood. As you know, Secretary Clinton has come out strongly in favor of D.C. statehood, and we want to make sure that the folks from other states at the convention support that particular effort. We have flyers here that we would appreciate having the opportunity to pass out. We represent the 4 wards in our congressional district, wards 3, 4, 5, and 7. There's another Ward 3 representative, Zachary Israel, who in fact is at another meeting this evening. And so we've split the responsibilities. Ambrose and 2 of our other colleagues, Kevin Chavis and Donna Alston, are from Ward 7. And Jacqueline Manning is an ANC commission chair from Ward 5. So we would greatly appreciate your support. It's important that DC Democrats come out and elect the delegates. So regardless of who you support, we hope you come out. But we hope that you will give us a look and give us your vote. So
you can leave those on the table outside with all the other papers. How do people vote?
Thank you. So the caucus, it's called a caucus, but you don't go and stay all day. It's at the convention center Saturday between the hours of 10 and 2. And then because, of course, Saturday is the Jewish Sabbath, the polls open again at the convention center between 9 and 10:30 at night. And so if you're not able to go during the day because you're doing one of these other activities, you can go down there at night. And as long as you're a registered voter, you'll be able to vote. And it's quick, it's easy, should be pretty much in and out, though we are hoping for a big turnout.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to thank you all for allowing us to be able to speak. I'm actually very glad that I was actually able to witness the initiation rite of David into the ANC ranks. But a little background on me. I chair what is called the Health Alliance Network, which is the largest community-based health advocacy group. Some of my background, there is a DC Youth Advisory Council because I helped write the legislation that created it. I also created the largest DC youth advocacy organization called the DC Alliance of Youth Advocates. So I'm known as a community builder and known as someone who gets things done. So vote for our slate, and thank you very much.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
by the way, I was not looking at Facebook back here. The Kentucky primary results are coming in, and I was getting live updates. It's almost neck and neck between.
So again, that's this Saturday?
It's this Saturday, the 21st, between the hours of 10 and 2, and then again 9 to 10:30 at night at the convention center. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you all for your time.
Hi, I'm Ruth Wattenberg, and I'm your Ward 3 representative to the DC State Board of Ed. And I'm really just here to say hello, to introduce myself. I was elected, I guess it's already a year and a half ago, and I'm slowly making my way around to all the schools, to the PTAs and ANCs, so it's great to see you. Well, I live one ANC over at Tenleytown, Friendship Heights. I want to say my niece is at David's school at Hearst, so I feel like an honorary member here. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about anything substantive today. I will just tell you that upcoming are two big things over the course of the next 6 to 9 months, I would say, which is a total revision of the way in which DC handles school accountability. A new federal law gives us the option to shift that a lot, and also high school graduation requirements are going to be revised at some point again in the next period. So, FYI, coming up, and I'm going to send around a sign-up list if you want to be on my mailing list, and you'll get some regular updates about what's going on in our schools, both at the state level and here in Ward 3 and at the DCPS level.
Great. And Ruth, you know we have a lot of discussions in our ANC about merch and the merch modernization.
I'm shocked. I'm really shocked to hear that.
So anything that you can do to help us in
absolutely.
This process is very welcome.
I'm in touch with the merch people on a regular basis and have been up there a few times. And the one good piece of news I can report, I was just saying to Sally, is right before I came, I was looking at the committee of the whole, I guess, adopting the education committee report. And as many of you may know, they did successfully grab, or I guess Mary Che did successfully give $5 million to the education committee that will go to merch, that will solve the problem unless they raise the price again. So what can we say, you know? But yeah, I'm very involved in it, and
Great.
Unless you
watching it and
do
trying.
your newsletter and
Yeah.
make a plug for merch.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Ruth, I'm sorry, Ruth, can you also explain what the Ward 3 EdNet is and who's involved with that from the schools? And then I know one of their advocacy pieces is, and I know we don't want to get into details, but is advocacy on the unfunded mandate issue and the LEAP
Yes.
program, and if you could provide a brief overview, that'd be appreciated.
Yeah, so the, is this all right if I feel like I'm talking to them, I'm talking to you anyway?
You're talking
The-
to the live.
Okay, all right. Well, the Ward 3 EdNet, every other ward in DC except for Ward 3, or mainly every other ward, had sort of an organized presence around education through something called the Ward Alliance. And Ward 3 didn't, and a couple of years ago, or I guess just a year and a half ago, Ward 3 did organize one, and it's called the Ward 3 Wilson Feeder Education Network. So it involves people who are from Ward 3, but also families and parents who are from any of the schools that feed into Wilson, which of course isn't all Ward 3. So for example, Bancroft, Shepherd, and so on, Lafayette. And the purpose of that group, and they're open, those meetings are open. If you sign up and put a note here, I can send you information on it. They meet monthly. It's usually at least one person per school to talk about what's going on in the city as well as in the individual schools. And that's one of the places where we hear some regular updates about merch. And one of the big issues, as David said, is the budgeting for our local schools. And the way we do budgets for local schools is truly a crime and a tragedy, period. I'll just sort of say that. But one particular way in which it's a problem this year is that DCPS has created an unfunded mandate in which every school, regardless of its need, regardless of its structure, regardless of its budgeting priorities, has to, without a lot of planning, implement a very particular kind of professional development program that's going to require, it depends on sort of the size of the school, but the equivalent of a full-time person at most elementary schools, and more than that at the middle school and high school levels. And each teacher will be spending a stated amount of time involved in professional development activities. And let me say, in general, I'm totally for the professional development. I think some of the ideas about this are terrific, to involve teachers in sort of teaching lessons that are specifically in their content area. But the way in which it's being done, and the way in which it's being done without planning, and the way in which it's being done without additional funding, and the way it's being done as sort of one size fits all with very little input from the school faculty, the principals, the parents, and the school community, is really, really a shame. And There's been a lot of pushback on it. Ward 3 EdNet has been pushing back on it. I've been pushing back on it in our newsletters, and we still have a couple of cards to play before all of this is done. So, hopefully it will work out okay in the end. But the cards are still being played.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, it's Teresa from Van Ness Main Street, and I just wanted to give you a couple of things that we're doing. We had a great, successful first Jazz at VN event, and so we're extending that, and the next one will be at Bread First on June 30th, starting at 5. And we're going to be featuring a really great local choral group who's going to be doing jazz. So we hope everybody will come out. We're doing these again to support our local restaurants and to get more people into our local restaurants. And as many of you know, we're going to be doing Arts All Night, which is a huge event. We'll get about 5,000 people into Van Ness. That is September 24th. And we're having a organizing meeting at Park Van Ness. They've been very nice to let us do the organizing meeting there on May 31st, starting at 7. So anybody who's interested in working on a really large community event, we hope everybody will come out and support that. Art All Night will be an event that will be throughout Van Ness and will be an arts event to highlight our local businesses and highlight Van Ness. So we're hoping that people will come out for that. And we've been working with our design committee to do some work on Deco at VN, which will be at the corner of Albemarle and Connecticut. And we had a great meeting with our local businesses to talk about that. And we had a great meeting with Shirley last Friday with some of our local businesses that are at the corner of Van Ness and Connecticut, trying to figure out ways to help them. And finally, we have a great clean team at Van Ness, and they're going to be helping us do some new beautification projects. So those are some things that are happening. And I guess the last thing I don't want to miss is that we're doing a real estate survey, and John Stover and Associates has been contracted to work on that, and so we'll be doing a very extensive real estate survey on Van Ness. So all those things are happening, more and more and more things are happening, but those are some of the highlights. So thanks.
The clean team's going to come all the way up here to Nebraska, isn't it?
Yeah, the clean team actually starts in Woodley, and it's going now all the way up to the Circle, Chevy Chase Circle. But they are absolutely fantastic and are going to really help us, especially our businesses at the corner of Van Ness and Connecticut, trying to get some new plantings and just getting it cleaned up, and then on up through. And they're extraordinarily helpful and great. So we're happy to work with them.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Can they get rid of the newspaper boxes?
Hi, I'm Courtney Carlson, and I just wanted to bring to the committee's attention Ellicott Street, just a block from here between Connecticut Avenue and 32nd Street, and the fact that it lacks any catch basin. And because the street has been repaved so many times, the curb is only about a half an inch high, so that whenever we have any heavy rain, the water jumps the curb and floods a lot of the neighboring properties. And I don't know, I know I've been working on it, and I had a lot of help from Mary Beth Ray in the past couple weeks, which I very much appreciate, moving it forward. But I know I wanted other people to know, if they're having these issues, that this is an issue that is because of DDOT overpaving the street, and because there is no catch basin. It's almost a quarter mile long, this block. And the fact that there's nowhere for the water to go, it jumps curbs, it jumps driveways, and it's flooding a lot of properties along the street. So we'd really like to get some help trying to get that rectified. And there's there've been done 2 studies, both water and Department of Transportation have done studies and assessed and agreed that this is the problem. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else?
I mean, or Teresa could do it.
Actually, I have a question. If these studies have been done, what are they saying? What are the studies saying?
Well, they agree that the issue is that the streets were never paved, and
Okay.
there's no catch basin, but it's not.
Has it
even
gone
on
to
the
budget?
pending list.
It has to go to their DDOT's road budget. And that, just so you know, you're not the only one with a lot of problems. Brandywine at 32nd and 31st is almost as bad. There's no catch basins. Our whole Forest Hills area, all the water comes actually from Wakefield and further up, and there's no way for the water to get out. There's only certain catch basins in certain places. Our ANC has been working for quite a few years trying to get those areas looked at. We keep being told we're on the list, but we don't see ourselves on the list yet.
I mean, every time it rains more than an inch, I have
Yeah.
like hundreds of dollars of damage on my house and my yard. I just get mud overflowing from the west and the south over 2 stone walls into my backyard. But the reason I wanted to bring it up is not because of my issue, it's because I don't think it's just my issue.
It's not just your issue.
So,
It's in
I'm
all,
not happy
it's
to
in
hear
all
that
our
you
single
have
member
it, right?
districts.
So
Yeah.
I'm unhappy to hear that you have the issue too, but I
Yeah.
thought maybe if we could all work together on it, because when I first moved in, they said, well, this is a 100-year rain. Well, in the 2 years I've lived in my house, we've had 600-year rains,
That's some
They're just
snows.
becoming more frequent, and, the water management has to be something that is done at the city level, because as a homeowner, I've done all kinds of things to try and abate it, and there's nothing more I can do. So, I need the city's help.
I think you also need to know that there is a stream plane from Fort Reno, and there are finger underground streams that go from Fort Reno down to Broad Branch into Broad Branch Basin, Rock Creek. That is one of the problems that DDOT and DDOE always has they don't want to hear it, but that is a problem when we have a lot of rain because the water table rises. And that could be, I'm not a water management person, but some people have said that is a problem in their yards because of the water table rising and the underground creeks.
Well, this is, they've said it's purely because, I'm sure I'll still have some problems, but because there's no curb, I have video of it, you can just see the water jumping because there's nowhere for it to go. So, even if at a minimum they ground the street and repaved, we have a lot of relief.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, any quick announcement?
I just would like to very briefly raise an issue to let folks know that we've been hearing from quite a few businesses and residents also concerns about the relatively recent influx of food trucks in our area. I'm sure many of you have noticed that, and I wanted to let folks know that the ANC is aware that there are some concerns about the potential impact on businesses, and this is something we're talking about and hope to have on our next agenda for more in-depth discussion. But if you do have thoughts or concerns about it, please feel free to contact me and we will continue that conversation.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. We're going to invite Tracy to come up and talk about the Forest Hills Playground Summer Concert Series.
Just generally talk about it?
Just a
All right.
quick overview, and then we'll have to make a motion to prepare a letter to support it.
I'm Tracy Johnke. I live at 4740 Connecticut Avenue, and I'm on the board of the Friends of the Forest Hills Playground. And last summer, we, for the first time, after the playground was renovated with a beautiful new amphitheater, we held a concert series. We held it on the final Friday of June, July, and August. And it was wonderful. The weather was perfect. The bands were amazing. The crowds were fantastic. And we're going to do it again this year. It's all coming together. We have tentative contracts with the Spread Love Band, which I haven't heard, but I hear it's great. It plays. They're a brass band. They play jazz and pop. The July concert, again, as Sally mentioned, is the Big Hillbilly Bluegrass Band. And in August, it's Marcia and the Positrons, which is led by Marcia Goodman-Wood, who's pretty well known in this neighborhood, especially in the merge community. She plays at the fall fair there every year. Armand's Pizza Truck will be on hand again, as they were at the last concert last year. And get there early to get your pizza because they sell out fast. And we've been distributing letters to the neighbors surrounding the park, including the Brandywine Apartments, to let them know this is coming up. And it's part of our permit process. And the ANC is also part of our permit process. We need the ANC's approval to get DPR's approval.
Which I have, since the park is in my single-member district, I have been in contact with Kate, who was the new
Kate Tarbert.
For the new president. She took over for Allie in Virginia. She's been lovely to work with. Sorry she's not here tonight, so I could meet her, but I'll see her tomorrow at a maintenance deal in the park. They did a wonderful job last year. This year, I reached out to them and asked them to please do the letters again to the surrounding neighbors. This year you didn't have to put them out. Mary Beth, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mary Beth.
Happy to help. They did go further. I asked them to go a little further because people were miffed further down when they could hear the music from their deck but wondered what it was. I have received no comments back. The only comments I received, which I put around to you all, the other commissioners, is we had a trash problem the first time. DPW is supposed to pick up the trash at the park on Mondays and Thursdays. The trash was left there over the weekend, so you can imagine what that did. And from then on, we've gotten that worked out where the Friends Board and surrounding neighbors
and any volunteers
such as myself put all the trash in their super cans.
Yeah, every time we do this, we learn, and so after every concert, we will empty out the super cans and then take them home with us, I guess. So,
but it's working, so it's okay.
Yeah.
So I would like to say it's a wonderful addition. It's something that's kind of like the jazz at VN that our neighborhood loves. It's geared to young families and to everybody, but I think the timing is great. And I'm sorry you don't do it in September, but maybe next year you'll do it in September.
And if anybody wants to volunteer for this or the playground cleanup that we are hoping to do this Saturday, email foresthillsplayground@gmail.com. There's also information at Forest Hills Connection and on their Facebook page and on Twitter, Forest Hills Park on Twitter, Forest Hills Playgrounds on Facebook.
So if I would like to make a motion that we approve this concert series and do a letter of support to DPR.
Second.
Thank you.
Is there any discussion from the commissioners? So one question, the letters have already gone out to the community.
That's my understanding.
Yes, Kate delivered them Friday.
Friday.
Last Friday
Last
before our
Friday.
meeting. So everybody's received them, and they've been posted in the apartments. I have asked Kate for two things: a flyer for our next ANC meeting to hand out to people, to also post it on the bulletin board for each of the concerts is very helpful.
Yeah.
And also to give it to the neighbors, and if you do a PDF, we can send it to the apartment buildings that are close, like 4701.
Send that to you or to...
You can send it to me, and
fantastic.
I can send it to the people.
Absolutely.
And the other thing is, I do need a permit number to send, so if we pass this, I hope we do, that we definitely need a permit number so I can send the letter of support to that number.
Are you being charged for that permit? DPR?
Absolutely, they were, but they have, I can answer this.
Okay.
Maybe
Hey, I don't
Tracy
know.
can too. Well, maybe you can't. If you sign up to be a Friends of at the park, such as like if Hearst had a Friends of, Forest Hills has a Friend of. I understand from Kate, it was not applied for last year, even though they were told about it, and she is in the process of applying for that. If you apply for it, you do not have to pay for a permit.
Great.
So tell your board to get on that.
Kate's right on that.
Okay.
Are there any comments from community? Questions? Okay. Is there a second? Anyone? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 6-0-0.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Tracy.
Tracy.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, so moving on. Is Nancy Lyons here? No? Okay, so we will move on to item number 7. The presentation from Marcella Wallace of the Department of Parks and Recs for an overview of the Hearst Park renovation project.
Malachi, I think she's going to go get.
Stepped outside.
Too bad she didn't bring the PowerPoint,
Well, she did. We just didn't get here in time to.
because I looked at it online. It's pretty good, but it doesn't really show what it had the outline and everything.
Right. Well, they're just in the initial design phase. So.
Yeah, but it had the timeline and everything. Is she gonna say that?
I think she could just talk through the slides.
Actually,
Malachi and Mary talked about it. But they would.
Huh?
Is she right in the hallway there?
Well, you wanna just go to Sarah? What, why don't we just?
Let's.
Oh, here.
Hi.
Jackie? We did not get an opportunity to set up the.
No, that's okay.
I think.
Marcella's not here anyway. She has the presentation.
Why don't you go ahead and come on up then?
Okay.
So if you would just give us an overview
Yes.
of the project, the discussions so far, and the next steps, just a
Okay.
brief overview for the community.
Thank you. I appreciate being here tonight. My name is Jackie Stanley. I'm with the DC Department of General Service, and we're the agency responsible for construction of all district government properties, with the exception of libraries. So we're responsible for the merch construction. We're responsible for MPD, Parks and Recreation, pretty much anything except libraries. So we're here. I'm here tonight. My partner, Marcella Wallace, unfortunately had car trouble. She just sent me a text and said she's en route. But I just wanted to give you a quick update. As Commissioner Dickerson indicated, we had a community meeting last week to introduce the Hearst project team to the community. We currently have funding in the Hearst budget to design a park and a pool at Hearst. So we've recently hired an architectural team to help us with that design. So the first meeting we had was basically just an introduction meeting. It was to answer any questions the community have, to talk about the budget of the project, and to talk about the schedule. So the budget in 2016, we have $2 million. In 2017, we have $5 million. So that's $7 million to start the design and the construction of the park. And then in FY19, we have another $5 million for the construction of the pool. So there were a lot of concerns in the community on if we've already designed the park and the pool. The answer to that is no. We have not designed the park nor the pool. Our first community meeting to talk about what the amenities for the park, we're looking at the first or second week of June to have a community meeting to start the engagement on what the park would look like. There are a lot of questions on how the pool was selected. DPR made that selection based on their facility assessment. It was determined that there's no outdoor pools in Ward 3. So this is why a outdoor pool is being built in Ward 3. Hearst was determined to be the best site for the pool. The other locations that were looked at, and these are all the things we discussed at the meeting last week. The other sites were Palisades, which is not large enough, and we have, that site has been designated as historic. The rec center portion. The other location that was considered was Friendship. That was taken off the list as well because that's currently in construction for a new rec center. And the third site, I don't remember.
Where is Friendship?
Friendship is
Turtle Park.
Well, I'm sorry.
Okay.
We call it Friendship.
It's
You
really
call it
not-
Turtle Park.
Yeah, Turtle Park is, okay.
It's actually DPR also calls it Friendship, but Friendship Turtle Park. You're correct. So that's in construction now, and it's scheduled to be open by the end of this year. They're receiving a new recreation center. I honestly don't remember the third location, but there were 3 options, including Hearst was the 4th. So Hearst met the criteria, and it had the space. So that's why Hearst was selected. Again, there are no designs. The only thing we know is we have funding, and we're going to work with the community to develop a park and or a pool in Ward 3. The other question that came up at the meeting was in reference to the recreation center. The community expressed a lot of concerns that there was a need for more recreational space in the existing recreation center. This budget does not include any enhancements to the recreation center. So that was a concern of the community. We've taken that back to our team, but I don't know if there's anything that will be done between now and the next year to get funding for the rec center. Again, that's a historic building, but there are no funds now to do anything to the recreation center. The last thing, and I'm going by memory, so forgive me. The last thing also was the existing trailers at Hearst. There was a question about what's going to happen to the existing trailers. For those of you that may be familiar with the site, we just finished construction on Hearst. They got a new gymnasium and some other enhancements to the school. While we were doing construction of Hearst, we did swing space directly on the site. So we built trailers. And that's where the kids from Hearst were while we were doing renovations to the school. Now that the school is open, the trailers are going to be moved. Location to be determined, but that's a DCPS decision, not a DGS nor a DPR decision. But we made it very clear to the community the trailers are scheduled to be removed. In that area, we may just grass it, but there's no plans to do anything major at that area. So that's my quick update. And
David?
Yeah, sure, thank you. I'm going to call you Jackie because I've known you so
That's
well,
perfect.
so long.
I love
but
Jackie,
Ms.
it's fine.
Jackie Stanley, you and I obviously worked together hand in hand for quite a while.
Yes.
On the Hearst renovation, so I wanted to just formally thank you in front of the ANC for all your hard work as
Appreciate that.
spokesperson for DGS. I also just want to quickly acknowledge Ms. Kim Campbell from
Yes.
the Hearst Recreation Cottage, and if you want to comment at the end of this, you're welcome to do that. This is an exciting project. It's a wonderful, positive opportunity for the community. Having been involved with the school, I personally view this as kind of a Hearst campus that not only addresses the educational needs, but the whole community's needs with regard to a green space, the green trees, the recreational opportunities, soccer, swimming, etc. With every positive change comes struggle,
Yes.
and comes a variety of opinions. And I stand ready, and hopefully the ANC does, in supporting the process. I would sort of highlight 2 themes. One is communication, and the other is community.
Yes.
For those that aren't familiar with DGS projects, they have a great website, dgs.dc.gov, I believe.
Yes.
And you can scroll over to their construction projects. You can look at all the school projects, including MERSH and others. Some are better updated than others. But I've asked Jackie to pay a lot of attention to the Hearst Park link within the construction sites that you scrolled through to the parks. And so the timeline will be there, the funding amounts will be there, etc. I do have a question I actually have several if you don't mind, but
Sure.
One of the questions is with regard to the budget and how this pool decision may ultimately be made in terms of whether there's a pool and where it'll be located. You mentioned the 2016, 17, and 19 fiscal year budgets.
Yes.
Can you provide us with the sheet out of the district's budget that lays out those 3 years? I think what a lot of people don't understand is how the city, who passes an annual budget and Congress stamps it or approves it in the fall, how it is that we already have $5 million in FY17 and another 5 in 19. I think I personally applaud the district in planning ahead and affording us the opportunity to comment constructively on the park design, but having that money available and projected out is helpful. But I think having that spreadsheet available so people can understand how this budget process really works. I think a lot of people in the community are, well, this is baked in. It's already been decided that there's going to be a pool.
Right.
Whereas the other view is, oh, there's been a lot of advanced planning. The city council and the mayor have directed DGS to look at this project in its entirety and hire a contractor to design a park that includes a
That
pool.
includes a pool.
Is that accurate?
That is accurate, yes.
Okay, so if we can get that budget sheet, if you will, if I'm representing that
No,
accurately.
that's correct, and we'll make sure the ANC has a copy of the budget sheet.
So, a couple other quick things. There are several other ANCs that about the park.
Yes.
I'm in a single-member district that includes all of Hearst Park, but ANC 3C is at least one other participant in this, if you will. And so I invite you, and I'd love to go with you if you'd like to make a presentation to them as well, or help reach out to them as well. We're getting inquiries.
And I've included them in all the email correspondence related to hers. And I actually had an ANC commissioner from 3C reach out to me, and we are committed to also working with them as well.
So I know with Sidwell and the renovation or expansion there, that it's involved a lot of DDOT in terms of traffic congestion, parking, et cetera. Can you briefly provide the community with when and how DDOT will become involved with this?
Yes, DDOT is involved in all of our projects, and we will include them in the design phase of the project. There were concerns also raised at the community meeting to ensure that we engage our sister agencies, and DDOT will be involved in the project. They're usually not involved this early in the project because we don't know what we're building. We don't know what we're designing, but they will be involved in the design phase of the project, and they will attend meetings with us. So please be assured that we will engage all our sister agencies, DDOT, DCRA, Water, every agency that has any impact on the project will be involved early on.
Great. Yeah, I know there's also a fair amount of drainage issues that have been raised. And Pat, if you want to quickly.
Yeah, I'll go real quickly on that. And
Oh, sure.
It's great that you're coming out before it's designed, so we
Yes.
can have impact. So DOE actually has done a study, and I can send it to you. You probably have it already,
Okay.
on some of the stormwater retrofits
Yes.
that are appropriate for the area, and specifically because of a lot of the drainage into Hazen Run coming off
Okay.
the site specifically. And so I personally, I know many other members of both the commission and the community would love to see those retrofits as a part of this, and just in making sure that that voice is heard during the design process is very important to me.
Okay, and it's important to us as well. And as you guys know, with any project, we're going to have to get permits. And so we will, which requires approval from every agency in the city pretty much. And we're required to incorporate in our design the new regulations, DOEE regulations. So we will also be in contact with them. But if you have that study, if you can forward it to us, I'll make sure the project team have it. They may already have it, but I'd rather be safe than sorry and just give it to them again.
Yeah, and it's really nice. There's about, I think, 7 or 8 recommendations, and I think about 4 of them could apply specifically to the site in question. So
Okay.
I'll make sure you have that.
And what we'll also do, and just to manage expectations, sometimes we will have to work with our sister agencies if additional funding is needed based on some of those issues. But we'll bring those up as the project develops. Our project may cover everything, but sometimes it may not even be in our jurisdiction, and we would have to work with our sister agencies for additional funding. But we work very closely with our sister agencies on every project.
Real quickly, Jackie, so you mentioned that there might be another follow-up meeting in first, second week of June.
Yes.
Can you briefly, for the community that is anxious about the design, describe what will happen at those initial meetings?
Sure. So what we have, and Marcella just joined us from DPR. Basically what we do, and we're currently working on design for another project over in Ward 5. It's the Edgewood project. And what we do, we have meetings, we call them visioning meetings with the community. Basically, the first meeting, and Marcella, she'll correct me if I'm wrong. The first meeting, we're going to say to the community, tell us what you want in the park. Just give us your wish list. There are going to be no limitations. Just tell us what you want, and then we're going to talk to the community. We're going to break you up into groups. We're going to break you up into tables, and it's going to be a working session. It's not really a meeting. It's a working session. The first 15 minutes or so may be us giving a presentation, updating the residents. Then we're going to have everyone break out into sessions, tell us what you want. Then we're going to narrow that down to like the top 10 of what the communities, what their needs, what their wants are, what your concerns are. Tell us the things you're concerned about. You're concerned about parking. You're concerned about safety. Whatever those concerns are. Again, we're going to, do you want a pool, do you not want a pool? If you don't want a pool, what's your reasoning for not wanting a pool? If you want a pool, no, what kind of pool do you want? What size pool do you want? What kind of activities do you anticipate at this park? So then we take that information. So that first meeting is going to be just a vision meeting to talk about, pretty much we say to people, no, this is the time to give us your Christmas list. So then we're going to take that list back. The architects will take that list back and then design a park based on information that we receive at that first meeting. It's going to be based on information from the meeting. It's going to be based on budget. It's going to be based on DPR requirements. And then we're going to come back that second meeting, then we'll come with concepts. So that first meeting, we still come empty-handed because we don't know what the community wants. So that second meeting is when we come with a concept of what the park could look like based on the information we collected at that first meeting. In that second meeting, we're going to say, hey, this is what we think we heard. Now, this is what we think the park can look like. And normally we'll have a minimum 2 concepts, sometimes 3, depending on the budget or depending on how broad the desires are. And so at that second meeting, again, we'll show you a concept saying, hey, are we on the right track? Then the third meeting, we'll come back and we'll make addendums and, changes based on what we hear at the second meeting. So that first meeting is pretty much a working session where the community gets to tell us exactly what they want, and we work in small groups to try to come up with a plan.
Okay. Thank you for that, Jackie. Would you mind introducing Ms.
Marcella, yes.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Marcella Wallace, and my apologies for being late tonight. Had some car issues, but I'm happy to be here, working in partnership with Jackie and DGS, and I look forward to seeing all of you at some point, hopefully each and every one of you throughout the planning and design process. Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you, Marcella. I just had 2 quick things again, and I'm sorry to take everyone's time. We did mention the outer fiscal year budgets and whether there be a pool or not, and it's in the budget now, but there's a process to flesh that out. Can you describe if there's a strong community interest, not just in stormwater runoff and drainage, but also in renovating the recreation cottage or addressing the upper playground or any variety of issues that aren't in the current scope? Is that something that we take up with the city council, or is that something we address through you, or what do you envision on that?
Well, budget for projects obviously comes through council. At this point, there isn't budget for that project. You can certainly send a letter to me, and I can forward it on to my supervisors, and we can see what will happen. But at this point, there isn't budget for those. As you know, the field house is historic, and that brings its own issues.
Right.
But we'll certainly be happy to take your.
Yeah, and just for people's reference, there are 300 kids and probably 45 kids, 30 to 45 that are using this 1930s recreation cottage that's way overtaxed. We have a great director of programs and Ms. Campbell there. The program could blossom and grow even further if you've got a full park there. It makes sense to have a recreation center to support it. The last thing, and this is just by way of advice, I know that DPR generally doesn't do the school improvement team like the school renovations do. But I would encourage you to consider, this is a very, very active community with a lot of strong opinions and a lot of discrete stakeholders, including Hearst Elementary, including Sidwell, including the ANC, and probably 2 or 3 other stakeholders. So as you have these community meetings, you might consider an advisory group, not an approval group, but an advisory group to just help shape your thinking a little bit based on the experience of people that have been here a long time, and compile an advisory group of 8 to 10 folks from different parts, maybe an ANC or 2, the different schools involved, and a few other folks in the community. I'd love to talk to you about that offline.
Sure, we can talk about it. Our goal is to involve as many people and organizations as possible. It may or may not be through the SIT process. Regardless, we will do the outreach along with Jackie to get the involvement of, even if there isn't a SIT group, which we are actually honestly looking at this point. We want to have the most successful outreach possible, and it may not be appropriate at this time for a park project, but if it's not, we certainly can take your advice about the groups that should be involved and who we need to contact, and we can make sure that that happens regardless. So I'll give you that commitment.
Okay.
We're open
great.
to that.
All right.
All right.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Let me ask if there are any other short questions from commissioners.
Sure.
I have a question.
Sure.
Sounds like a great project. I have looked at it
For a
online.
great park, right?
Great park, great project. Wish it was at Forest Hills, but whatever. I'm glad it's in Ward 3, and I'm glad you got it to shepherd it
We're
through.
all together.
And we're all together in this. I have a question about, I know it's down the pike. You're in the preliminary stages.
Yes.
But a problem that we've had in the past is working through the process with DPR and DGS, the ANC, or the task force that are involved that David will be on, and usually if you have our friends on the park playground, of the communications. There was not good communication. I felt like our ANC and the task force was not kept in the loop, especially with the design build process. As far as the preliminary front end stuff, that was extremely good. As far as the reaching out to the neighborhood for community meetings and doing a lot of programming and design development. But as soon as you got to design development,
This is with the school project?
no, there was a Forest Hills renovation,
Oh, okay.
which you all did quite a lot of that, and I worked with Jackie and her team on it. I'm just saying that was not a successful process as far as the stakeholders were concerned, because we were not shown the designs regularly. We were kind of out of the process, even though we asked for it repeatedly, and a lot of things could have been avoided that were done through the design process in the end. So I really strongly recommend that that is done on this process, because this is a much bigger project than the Forest Hills Playground.
So
And
what would
I'll
you like
be-
done? We could, okay.
You're correct. I am familiar with that project. The challenge, we've made a lot of communication enhancements since then.
Okay.
One of the challenges we had on a lot of our previous projects was we did concept development, then we did design, then we did construction. And you're right.
Design, build, construction, which.
Well, it depends. It depends on the
It was a
project.
design
Right.
build
Yours was a
project. I
design
don't know if
build.
this is
Okay.
a design build project.
Right.
If it is,
No, this one is
Okay.
not design build. But we've learned a lot of lessons from our playground projects, and just so the entire community understands what we're speaking of, because we understand, is DPR and DGS did a large park project citywide approximately 2 years ago We renovated probably 20 parks in the city.
It was called
And
DC Play.
it was called DC Play, and Play DC actually is what it was called. And Forest Hills Playground was one of those 20-plus parks that we renovated. And you're right, we learned a lot of lessons about communication with those projects, as well as our school projects and the larger projects we have. So I anticipate that you'll see better communication this time around, because we did learn a lot of lessons. So we apologize for the failures in communication on previous projects, but I think you will see a much improved communication outreach this time around.
Well, I appreciate that. And the other thing is that please do a traffic control plan and hire a consultant, because that area we constantly have coming to the ANC, which David knows and his predecessors know. We have Sidwell Friends that
Yes.
we have just seen a massive traffic control plan done. It was
Okay.
a very good study, and this will add to the congestion of that area, and it really needs to be done.
That was
Well,
actually brought up at the meeting, the concerns about the additional traffic with the construction Sidwell has planned, and if we upgrade this park. So a traffic study is in our scope of work for this
And-
project.
And as far as the construction schedules.
Yes. Oh, no, this is one of many meetings and one of
I'm
many
sure.
opportunities for us to update the community. And as Commissioner Dickerson indicated, he's good at letting us know when we're not communicating. We worked very closely on the school project, and when there was a problem or concern, he made it very clear to us that we need to communicate better. He's already spoken to myself and Marcella, and we talked about some of the lessons learned also in her school. One being the website, making sure that's updated regularly. For residents that cannot attend meetings, they do depend heavily on looking at the website. So we're open for constructive criticism, and we're here to make sure this process works well for the city and the community. Because if you're not happy, my job is not easy.
So that goes
My
into
job
merch.
is not easy.
Keep that in mind with merch.
But I'm not on the merch project.
Okay, I'm going to close it down here. I'm going to ask if there are any questions or concerns from the community. Anything? Okay, if not, thank you, ladies.
Thank
We
you.
look forward to working with you.
Thanks, hope you feel better.
Thank you. I'm getting there.
Okay, all right.
And can I ask that
One
you
more, yeah.
send this to David so that we can put this on our website?
Actually, it's on the Forest Hills Connection website.
No, not this one.
Yes, that
Well,
one's
I
on.
revised it slightly just for tonight.
Okay, but
ANC
So,
presentation.
But I've seen
it's
this.
almost, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So now we're going to move on to a presentation by Sarah Fastball from the Alcohol Beverage Regulation Administration. She's going to give us a quick overview of the liquor license process in the city, and then we're going to talk about some liquor license renewals in our ANC.
Hi, I'm Sarah Fashpaw. I'm the Community Resource Officer with the Alcoholic Beverage Regulation Administration. I'm going to try to make this super fast because I know everyone wants to get out of here on time. So I wanted to go over a few things. I'm going to leave my business cards on the table in the back. On the back of my business cards, I tacked a little sticker that has our complaint hotline number on it. That complaint hotline is answered 7 days a week in the evenings, so about 7 p.m. until 3 a.m. Again, that's 7 days a week. We have 21 investigators going out, making sure that liquor licenses are or licensees are in compliance with district laws and regulations. We do rely heavily on the community to let us know if there's any violations, any settlement agreement violations, if you're having issues with trash or noise, any sort of violation of our regulations. Please let us know. You can let me know during the daytime or call our enforcement hotline number. Again, I'm putting that in the back. We just went through restaurant and hotel renewals and caterer renewals and multi-purpose renewals. I'm not sure. I think you only had restaurants and hotels.
No, we have one, Politics and Pros in Hillwood.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have a couple. Of
Okay,
different- yeah.
great. So we already went through those.
Yeah.
So in September, we have taverns and nightclubs coming up. I doubt there's any nightclubs, but there might be some taverns. You can protest them. They have to renew by September. They can request to have their settlement agreement terminated if it's more than 4 years old, and they can do that before they file or during the renewal period, and they have to file it with their paperwork. The ANC can protest placards, also groups of 5 or more residents in the district, community associations. If you're interested in filing a protest letter and you've never done it before, please contact me. It is somewhat of a technical process. Attending hearings is a must. A lot of times people don't know that. So just call me and we can talk through it, and I will make sure that you're on the right road. It's just not that easy for people who haven't done it before, so we can talk about it. Right now, the ABC board is seeking commentary on Class B grocery store licenses. Actually, it's funny that I'm at 3F, and they just released a press release saying that we're seeking commentary because 3F was the first ANC to ever protest a Class B grocery store license in the district. I don't know if you remember Walgreens.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Definitely we remember.
So if you don't like the way the regulations are written, you can let the ABC board know. There isn't a deadline for commentary at this point, but I would try to get it in as soon as possible because we don't know when we're going to close that. We hit the 250 cap limit for Class A liquor stores. So we will not be issuing any more Class A licenses in the district until someone gets rid of their license. So you won't see any applications for that anytime soon. I do have a community training. We have new licensee trainings. We have books and record trainings. We have ID check trainings that we provide to licensees. But we felt that there was a need to educate the community, basically give them the ABCs of the ABC laws. So our first training is going to be on July 28th. It's a Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. I'm going to conduct it. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. We have a wonderful website now. We just updated it. If you go on abra.dc.gov, a pop-up will come up and you can plug in your email address and you'll get updates about our agency every few days. Lastly, you have 2 active placards. You have Soapstone Market, which is going to be a Class B grocery store, and a Class DR, which allows them to sell, it's a restaurant, so it allows them to sell beer and wine for on-premises consumption. And then you have A-Team Importers, which is a wholesaler. So that's the end of my spiel.
Spolina, have they applied? Spolina?
Is that a manufacturer?
No,
that's
it's
a
just a
restaurant
regular
that's going into
restaurant.
Park Van Ness next to
Stone Market.
I can look into that. I'll let you know.
SFOG.
I've written it to you. It's the same group as Viola.
Okay.
Viola Moore.
I can look into that, and if there's an active placard, you should have already received it. If not, let
We
me
have
know.
not received it.
Okay,
It is
then-
not active yet. They, to my knowledge, they haven't applied. Because
Okay.
we're in public space right now.
Oh, okay.
They're under construction, so I don't think they would do it
I
yet.
can still look into
Yeah.
it because the way that it works sometimes is people will file applications. It might not be complete. And that way we can start processing it while they're still working through construction issues. They need to get their certificate of occupancy, their business license. Before they get all of those, we can still start processing the application. And I can see if something was submitted. And
So
I'm
you're
happy to
saying
reach out.
Soapstone Market has applied for a B and a DR?
Yes. And the placards were out on the 13th. So you have
I will
until
need that.
June 27th to file a protest if you'd like to.
Oh, can you send that to me since it's in my single-member district?
Happy to do so.
That is one of the issues. We are not, as you know, we are not getting notification properly. I did not get notification for Italian Pizza Kitchen, and Maliki didn't get notification for Tesoro, unless you did. Okay, I didn't think you did. So we would like, you have thankfully replacarded those
Yes.
for us,
Mhm.
so we have an extension on them.
You do. We
What-
replacarded them for last Friday. If you do not
Right.
receive proper notice, please let me know, and I will do what I can to make sure
Well,
that
I
gets
got it,
replacarded.
which I will forward on to Maliki, but if that was in an email from you, but we have not been given anything online or by mail.
Okay. I'm definitely going to look into it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Where is the wholesaler? What's the address for that?
4221 Connecticut, so with all the...
I don't know that I've gotten notice for that either. That's
Mhm.
probably out
Okay.
of, like, this, like, first find.
Yep.
But, I mean, there's always a chance I missed it, but I doubt it since we're having systemic issues here.
Right. Okay, thank you for letting me, I definitely will look into it. Mhm.
Questions? Any other questions?
Can we also be sent through Mr. Hager the liquor license application?
Oh, you can request applications through me.
Okay, so we would like them all for our ANC.
For
the liquor license, which is on the placard. The liquor
which
license.
particular establishment?
I can just send them to you.
Yeah, that'd be
Okay,
great.
that-
Mhm.
Yeah, because as you have told us, that sometimes the hours are different from the liquor license to the settlement agreement order.
Right.
We would like to compare those.
Sure.
So, are there any questions about this process? Sarah is a great resource for the community to find out how you protest, or you just have an issue, with an establishment that serves liquor. Any questions for Sarah?
That was easy.
No? Thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Sarah, and for working
Thanks
with,
for all your help,
and I would
Sarah.
like to give you this. We have done a comparison sheet of
Okay.
the restaurants you sent us. And
Okay.
we have done more, and I think you would be interested in it.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so keeping with that theme, we're going to now move on to the liquor license settlement agreement renewals that we have pending in our ANC. We have 5 on our agenda here, and why don't we do Sushi Para and Lali Gurus first, since they're here. And I saw Turker was here too.
Yeah, he just stepped out. I saw him a second ago. So I would like to thank representatives from both restaurants. We have Elvis Newman here from Sushi Para, who's the manager, and Dawa Tamang, who is one of the owners at Lali Gurus. I want to thank them not only for being here, but also for being so wonderful and working with me to amend the settlement agreements. We are making very minor changes. The only substantive change is that we have added identical clauses to both agreements related to hours of garbage collection, hood cleaning, and any other activity that causes a noise disturbance in the alley behind the restaurant. Those activities will be restricted to 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., and that's just because we were getting complaints about early morning trash pickup and late night hood cleaning. Otherwise, they are largely unchanged with very minor modifications.
And so that's for both of them?
Yes,
That
for
changes
both of them.
Okay.
For both of them.
Okay, so going to make a motion to approve these, and then we'll discuss.
Yeah, so I would like to move that we approve both settlement agreements.
Second. Any comments, questions, discussions?
No, we're just going to address the other language changes in a different amendment, because you weren't, I'm sure you didn't have enough time to do
I
that.
did, in fact.
Oh,
So
okay.
I should have been more explicit. So I should add that the issue is that we've gotten some feedback recently from ABRA that there are some minor language modifications they'd like to see to some clauses we've used in the past. So specifically, the one that is implicated here would be that should there be a concern about a violation of this agreement, previously we had used language indicating that we would petition the board for a show cause order.
Right.
And we were informed that it would be slightly more accurate, and in order to obtain approval from the board, we would need to instead say that the ANC will file a complaint with the ABC board. So substantively, really no change. It's just technically more accurate. So I did incorporate that.
So you've
into
incorporated it in both of them?
both. Yeah. Okay. I've incorporated that into both.
All right.
Good. Okay, so let's actually separate the motions and
You want to do it separately? Okay, so first, let's do Sushi Para. Then I'd like to move that we approve the updated settlement agreement for Sushi Para.
a second. Is there any discussion from the community? Any comments? Seeing none?
They're staying at midnight. closing.
All the hours are the same?
Correct. We have made no other changes to the settlement agreement that are substantive.
Okay.
And
just-
they don't want to extend hours?
Well, maybe I'll let Elvis come up and introduce himself to the ANC.
That'd be
He can
great.
answer your questions about what the restaurant might be interested in.
We also need to ask the question of the
Yeah.
music.
We are, I should say that some of the context, you see us looking at these large sheets, we are in the process of comparing settlement agreements for all the restaurants, so we can try to move towards consistency, and we're interested in helping you as well if there are things that you might need changes, so.
Hi, my name is Elvis. I'm the manager for Sushi Para. So we agreed to what Shirley has brought to us, the amendment to the contracts and settlement. So we totally agree.
Okay.
But-
So the question is, you have in that agreement certain hours beyond which you will not serve alcohol. And so our question is, do you think it's possible that you might want to serve alcohol later than midnight on some nights?
No, we will never know because we'll be closed at that time.
That answers
Yes.
that.
Are you interested in staying open later than midnight on
Not
weekends?
really. We are too tired after midnight.
Okay.
Let's not push it.
And another thing is that Teresa Cameron, you've probably met, our Main Street Executive Director, is trying to identify restaurants in Van Ness that would host music.
Yes.
Are you interested in hosting any music in your restaurant?
Live music.
Live music.
Not just recorded music. You have no live entertainment in your settlement agreement right now?
Yeah, we don't need music.
But
yeah.
our Main Street organization has a concert series we're trying to do that will go around to each restaurant from a certain time, like 5 to 7 on a Saturday evening.
Uh-huh.
And if you have no entertainment in your settlement agreement, we need to change that if you are willing to host a live guitarist or quartet.
This gives you the option. at
This
least.
gives you the option.
I think this is a discussion, though, that we
Yeah.
should have.
I agree. I
On
think we should
on
do these
weekends,
blanket.
Friday and Saturday, we usually packed, so we don't really need music to attract more people.
Okay,
Yes.
that's good to know. Okay.
We can always amend.
Right. Just so you all know, we can amend to any of these, and I think that's part of doing our study, is we should do this as a either ad hoc committee or as a off-site type of committee or an advisory committee to come up and be able to tell the restaurant owners or work with the restaurant owners for modifications. So I'm not sure we should bring too much up tonight until we have this resolved internally.
Agreed. Okay, so are there any questions for the owner?
I just have one. Are you going to do anything with a sidewalk cafe at any point?
That's under consideration.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, discussing actively with Teresa, I think if that would bring the whole neighborhood much better looking and prospects, we will open to that.
Okay, that would be great.
Yes.
But just wanted to know if you were interested.
Yes, we're
Okay.
interested.
And one thing to know is that if you do, come to have concerns about a specific issue in here, like you need your hours later or you need a change, you can always come to us and we
Right.
can discuss that. So if in the future,
Uh-huh.
you change your mind about something, we can talk about that.
The hours probably we won't change that because we have enough man hours for the day. So most of the chefs they won't work later than that, and most of our people wouldn't want to work later than that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a cultural, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, great.
So, motion is to approve the settlement agreement as amended. All in favor?
Hi.
Approved, 600. Great.
Great. And just so you know, the owner lives elsewhere, so we will be sending this to him for signature
Where does
next
he-
week. Where does the owner live?
He moves around, between countries. He has so much business going on. So he sometimes lives in Chicago, sometimes he lives in Beijing, sometimes he goes to Japan. So he's all around the world. So, but I will try to get him to get a signature.
Okay.
So we'll sign this here tonight for us, and then I'll bring you a copy of it that you can fax to him for signature this week. I'll come by the restaurant, okay? All right, thank you.
So let's do Lollyguris.
All right, Lollyguris. So I would again just like to move that we approve the agreement as amended.
Would you like to say anything?
Oh yeah, Mr. Tamang, this is the owner.
Thank you so much.
Same changes, same trash, and same language?
Yes. So again, the only change apart from the minor tweak per Abra's request
Right.
is just the trash pickup, which again, applicant shall schedule garbage collection, hood cleaning, and any other activity that causes a noise disturbance in the alley behind the restaurant only from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
I know.
Any questions, Sally?
I just want to note that, well, David brought this up, and I just think everybody needs to understand this, is that in our settlement agreements, they are different than the liquor license. The liquor license says when the establishment can serve liquor. So that may be 11 a.m. to 12 a.m., for an example. But in the settlement agreement, we are finding that the hours are like 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. And again, we're going to try to be consistent because it's really supposed to be when you're serving when it's open for food and alcohol consumption. It's not for when the restaurant owner or establishment goes in and starts setup.
Is that an issue for Lollyguris?
It's not an issue, but there's difference in the settlement agreements across
so
the board.
let's focus. Let's stay focused on this one for now. Are there any comments or questions from the community? Nothing. Any other questions or comments from commissioners?
What's hours again? If you want to ask that, Mary Beth.
You're interested in the hours?
Hours.
Oh, yeah, Dawa, any chance you would like to stay open later?
I don't think so because until 10, if I try to open until late, like 12, 1 maybe no one's come to the night maybe. Hopefully, I didn't see any customer in 2 years and years. After maybe if I do some DJ, some kind like that, some kind of member I collect too, like that kinds of things, maybe I can do that. Maybe if I get the permission, I can do that. Maybe but residences, all these senior in sitting in the behind, they got the problem, maybe they got the complaint. I don't have to do like that many things, I think.
Okay. Well, and we would also really love to bring some music, Teresa and...
all community, all council members like to do that. I can do that also. I prefer to do that.
Okay, so then we would need to change this, because right now, you have
Well, it's no live
entertainment.
entertainment. Right.
And so we would need to,
But again, I think we should do that as an amendment. We should come back once we can talk to them and have a consensus of all the restaurants having live music, unless you want to be able to do that now.
Well, so one question I have is, so let's say one of the restaurants in my district that has one of these provisions, because largely I've left these unchanged as they were negotiated, and we've decided that, it doesn't make sense to make many changes until we decide what we want consistently. But say one of the restaurants wanted to host jazz at the end, could we then pass a motion saying that we approve that sort of
For
exception
that particular,
to
yes,
yeah, so we
can.
still make sure that they're able to do that. And I know one of the restaurants volunteered for July, right, Teresa? Sushi Para? No, not yet.
June, but not July.
Okay, so we're thinking one of the restaurants might do July, and so maybe we can talk about that. And if that's the case, then at our next meeting, I'll just propose a motion to approve that. And then down the road, Sally, we can, make any additional changes.
There's also, unless there's a complaint, there's not an issue.
Well, that's
So
true, but it
you
just
have to
depends
look
on
at it
the
that
comfort
way
level.
also, and then
Right.
we can go back and get everything so it's straight. But I don't think people are going to complain from 5 to 7. If it was, who knows? But
So let's go ahead and approve this since this has been agreed already, and then if we need to make changes down the road,
we
do
can
that.
blanket change. Yeah.
Okay, so if there are no other comments or questions, let's vote. All in favor of the Lollyguris settlement agreement?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 6-0. Great.
Okay, good. And should we want Mr. Tamang to just sign it now? Or?
Sure.
Would you like to, Mr. Tamang, would you like to come sign this before you leave? And I'll bring a copy to you this week.
So the other three that we have to consider tonight are Jake's American Grill, Little Red Fox, and Italian Pizza Kitchen.
And actually a fourth Tesoro, but it's been, because you would have been in this placard, but now they're going to be replacarded.
Right. So we're not considering that tonight.
Right, but, okay, so.
So the three that we're considering tonight are Jake's, Little Red Fox, and Italian Pizza Kitchen. We have no changes to any of those three settlement agreements. So the question I have for the commissioners is, are there any questions or concerns? Have you heard any complaints about Jake's, Little Red Fox, or Italian Pizza Kitchen?
No.
No?
I wanna-
Same question to the community. Are there any concerns about the current settlement agreements, the hours of operation, and selling alcohol?
Thank you, Della.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Selling alcohol at Jake's, Little Red Fox, or Italian Pizza Kitchen? Okay.
Jake's is open till 3.
Yes, but their sidewalk cafe is
Just till
open
midnight.
to midnight. So, and actually that is a.
Do they
was it-
actually stay open till 3? When they have
Yes,
the private
downstairs. Mhm.
parties?
Yes, they do. And there have been no complaints, and for background information, it was a very contested ANC and owner settlement agreement that went on for a couple of years. So unless we have any problems, I would recommend we not.
Can you
mess with it.
describe the process when we do have problems? Is it the complaint process as you?
That Sarah.
And what is the status during the complaint process in terms of their hours? Do they remain open until 3?
Yes.
They serve food till 3 also?
They are,
Till 2.
no,
1 hour
till
before,
2,
right?
it's 1 hour before. Yes. And they have different agreements because of their downstairs, I don't, what do you want to call it, cellar. They call it their cellar. I have not seen them open sometimes until 2 or 3, just like Comet.
Right.
Andrews-
These
Andrews-
agreements don't mean they have to stay open.
Right.
It gives them the option to stay
That's
open.
correct. I mean, a lot of places don't stay open till the 1, 2, or 3 o'clock, but they can do that without an inspector coming to their site. If somebody complains they're open till 2 o'clock and making noise, propping the door open or whatever, then there's a leg to stand on, because it's in the settlement agreement.
Right. Okay. So let's make motions to approve each of these separately.
Well, wait, you have to take Italian Pizza Kitchen out because they have been replacarded. That will have to come up again, as well as Tesoro should have been on here, but it was replacarded. I sent you that.
Okay, so
Picture. And also,
Sorry, go
wait a
ahead.
minute, and Italian, Tesoro has a settlement agreement in place, which we can talk about offline. They have 1 and 2 o'clock as far as open to, and they
okay,
have.
let's talk about this
Right.
later.
And then the Italian Pizza Kitchen does not have a settlement agreement currently. They have never had one. So I will have to work with the owner to come up with a settlement agreement. He has agreed to it.
Great.
And Malachi, the hours of music for the sidewalk cafe at Jake's, is that till midnight?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hours of operation for the outdoor cafe are 10 a.m. to midnight, and alcohol is 10 a.m. to midnight.
Correct.
Yeah, I was just looking at the
Look at the spreadsheet.
7th column over, where it just was talking about the music doesn't seem to differentiate. So it's music till midnight, and then music till 3 inside?
Yes.
Upstairs.
Yes.
Okay, okay,
And they also have private parties that they can
okay.
have open.
Good. Okay, so since Jake's is in my SMD, I'll make a motion to approve the settlement agreement without any changes, the current settlement agreement without any changes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 6-0. And Little Red Fox, that was Andrea. So I'll make a motion to approve Little Red Fox's settlement agreement, the current agreement without changes.
Second.
All in favor? Passes 6-0-0. Great. So we will take up Italian Pizza Kitchen in Tesoro.
In June,
At our next
because we have to do petitions or letters of opposition or support by 7/5. So we'd have to do it in June.
Good. Okay, thank you. So now we're going to move on to the zoning application to renew the use of the Zips parking lot at 4418 Connecticut Avenue. So the applicant is here. If you would introduce yourself.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kate Olson. I'm a land use attorney with Greenstein, DeLorme & Lux, and I am here representing the applicant in this case. I'm going to hand out copies of the, I don't know if you have copies of the application.
No.
No. Thank you.
There are copies
We have
outside.
online of 61 pages, which is hard to.
Oh, maybe I do.
You have. I think you got this. I think you got this one.
No, I just got it.
Oh. You didn't get it. Maybe this came to the ANC.
Yeah.
So Kate, if you would just describe the application quickly, and then we can have a discussion about what you're actually asking for.
Sure, great. So this is a renewal of an accessory parking lot that's been in existence since the past 68 years. It was first approved by the BZA in 1961, and the current owner, it's been in the Klein family since 1999. John Klein Sr. passed away, and now the son owns both the accessory parking lot in the back, which is in the rear of the commercial buildings which utilize it in the front. And I also have with me tonight, Joe Borger and Beth Kinsley of Borger Management, who have been the property managers at the site for a very long time, and they can answer any questions that I can't.
Okay.
So we're actually requesting a permanent renewal of this. It was last approved in 2006 for a period of 10 years. And as I stated before, it was first approved in 1961. And so there's been a lot of approvals over the years. And as you can understand, this gets very time consuming and expensive, especially when there are no complaints at a property that we know of. So we are asking for a permanent renewal.
Really?
This is the parking lot. It's in back of
Yes,
Zips,
yes.
which, as you know, is right next to the Burger King parking
We
lot.
are very familiar.
Right.
I have pictures of it.
Okay.
So I can go through the test if you want, or I can answer questions.
Conditions, no, we sent around the conditions, so all the commissioners are familiar with them. Why don't I just open it up to questions from commissioners? Do you have specific questions about the application or the conditions?
Sure, yeah. Would you just make a little bit more for the case why permanent renewal is appropriate here as opposed to a 10 or 15-year? The community is sort of in flux, seeing where we're going. There's been a lot of thought put into a master plan for it moving forward. I don't know if, in 10 years, 5 years, the parking lot will continue to meet that. But could you describe some of the benefits for your client to having a permanent renewal?
Well, it's simply the fact that it's just been renewed so many times, and typically when we have a case, a project that has this many renewals, we suggest to the client they may want to ask for a permanent renewal. We don't always get it, but it is time consuming and expensive, and if, as you know, if they're ever if they're in violation of any of the conditions in the order, anyone can bring that to the BZA's attention. So it's simply that.
I don't really have a question. I'll just sort of, I share the concern. I do understand that it's been renewed many times, and I can appreciate that requires an investment of time and money that creates some inconvenience. But at the same time, the community is evolving so rapidly right now, and we have a lot of ideas about the direction. So I'm reluctant to support anything permanent, particularly as we're considering so many changes for our community. But thank you for being here.
I agree. I'm not in favor of a permanent approval. As I said in my email to you earlier, even 10 years seems like it's especially long, considering the reviews that we have for other parking lots in the area are more on the order of 5 or 10 or 3 years, and I think this was 5 years previously.
Prior to the 2006 order,
Prior to
yes.
2006, and so it got moved up to 10 years.
I think the Bread First, which I came before this ANC a couple years ago, I think is 7 years.
Okay, that
The
could
back
be-
parking lot.
It's 5.
Maybe.
I think it's 7.
I'm not sure.
I can look it up, but I thought it was reversed.
I know
to
the
5.
Burger King is 3 because there have been a
Burger
lot of
King is-
issues at the Burger King one.
Burger King is definitely 3.
Right.
It might be 7, but there's also a lot of clause that they have to do something within a certain amount of time for pervious pavement.
There's that
versus
one condition, yes.
impervious
Mhm.
pavement.
By the year 2020.
Correct.
Right, so it's a phased-in
And we
pervious.
also asked for additional landscaping at the ANC, which was noted in the order. So there were modifications made to that zoning order.
And I had mentioned that the permeable pavement to you as well, that would be
Right.
something that we would be interested in seeing added into the conditions, that over time, as resurfacing needs to be done, as repairs need to be done, you would move to permeable rather than impermeable pavement. That's just,
Right,
that's
and-
an example of a change that has taken place since 1961.
Right. Yep. No,
Something that
completely
we're moving towards
understand.
now. And it's useful for us to have these sorts of reviews to be able to inject some of that
Right,
into.
and it's helpful for it to be a slow progression into that sort of expensive change.
It is. Yeah, it is expensive too, and there's also some programming that's available to your client too, and I'd be interested in them taking a look at sort of the River Smart Communities
Correct.
project. I have some information about that I'd love to share it.
Okay,
There's some,
great.
There's some opportunity to have funds matched and reimbursed.
And actually, it's up for grabs right now. It's called River Smart Communities.
Write it
And
down.
it's for commercial establishments, not River Smart Homes, which is for single property owners.
Okay.
And it's a formative state, so they have quite a lot of money right now.
So we can get it. We can get it before Chick-fil-A gets it.
Yeah.
Gets it? All right.
So
I've been paying attention.
good job. So I would definitely, I think Pat and I would like for you to definitely look into that. It is a good program.
Okay. Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
I don't know where to start.
We're both going to be
This parking lot is such a nightmare. Can you help us understand who owns what back there, and whether you all talk to each other, and whether there is some master plan for improving conditions?
So the owner that owns 4418, 4420 Connecticut Avenue, Zips, and that office building right there, owns the accessory parking directly behind.
And that's
So the
John Ark.
Right, it's actually
Klein?
Junior now because
Is
Senior
Is
passed
Mr.
away.
Klein here?
No, he lives out of state.
Oh.
He's not here tonight, but that's why
Where
we
does he
have
live?
representatives. Virginia.
Okay.
Well, that's not far.
Where in
Yeah, well, depending if it's,
We had, I direct you to the photos that we have in Exhibit B. I apologize that I don't have tabs, but there should be an Exhibit B
This
cover
one?
sheet. No, Exhibit B, so that's Exhibit E.
exhibit what? B?
B for photos. So that should show several of the photos from Connecticut Avenue. It'll give you aerial photos of where we are in relation to the Burger King, to the car wash, and to Bread First, which are all, I believe, north.
So so Mr. Klein just owns this I'm looking, well,
What's
it's
in the
not
red
numbered,
box?
so it's page 2 of Exhibit B. Does
Right.
he just own?
He owns this.
Yeah, he
The
owns
box.
the
Just
box.
right in back of Zip Cleaners.
Right.
Where
And
the
so he
Chick-fil-A-
doesn't own any of the other
No. It's all
pieces.
separately owned. So Burger
And so
King,
you
which has
just
had a lot
happen
of
to
violations.
represent, you just happen
I
to
just
represent.
happened to represent down here.
She
Brentford,
represents
a couple years
Brentford
ago.
when you came with
Right.
Brentford.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, before Brentford.
Right.
Yes.
Well, when they were moving in.
They were moving in, yes.
And there are 19 spaces
Correct.
in here. How many of those are ADA compliant?
One.
I believe one.
And it's,
Where is that?
and it's not marked. Here's the picture. It is right there where the red car is, and there's no striping. It is on your plan, and it should be striped.
Okay. I can
It needs
talk
to
the
comply.
property manager about that.
And I'm not sure, you may need to have two, and that's a question that we need to have resolved. Because you have 19 spaces there,
Mhm.
and there's a certain percentage. I'm sorry, I don't know that percentage.
Yeah, and this
But-
is so early in that we grabbed your first available meeting. So a representative from OP and DDOT have not been assigned to this case yet.
Right.
But I'm
And that
anxious
needs
to
be
talk to
done.
DDOT.
That was my next question. I'm sorry.
I'm not finished.
I know.
But I'm sure.
So I'll look into that.
Okay.
What the requirement
We
is.
tag team.
Yeah, okay. So I know I asked you a lot of questions, so let me just go back to some of the questions I asked. Is the owner in touch with any of the other owners of the parking lot, the adjacent parking lots?
I would sort of defer to the property manager on this because the Borger Management has been managing the property and the accessory parking
The only
since
contact we have
for a
is
very
with
long
Days
time.
Pardon me?
The only contact we have is with Days Inn parking lot, which is to the south.
Right.
We have a rapport with them.
Okay, and so do you?
Sorry, could I ask you to come up to the microphone because it records to the internet for us?
I'm just going to answer that question with the property manager because she's newly assigned to it. We don't have a relationship with the Burger King ownership at all. Only the Days Inn have we had occurrence, to converse, and they've been very cooperative with us.
Okay, and so your name is?
I'm Joseph Borger Management.
Right, and so do you all manage just the Zips?
Correct. We
portion?
only manage 44, 18, and 20, which is known as the Zips, and the parking lot directly behind it that we're here for tonight.
Okay, and I know you all manage other properties in Van Ness.
Absolutely, yes.
Can you just list some of those so we have a context for?
You would call Van Ness. I mean, I have to understand where the ANC's split. But we have the Roberta up on Connecticut Avenue, which is just on the other side of Military Road, which I still believe is in
Sorry, no.
Van Ness.
I mean, I think you have the
You have
building on the
Diplomat
corner
Cleaners.
of Albemarle.
And you have
Okay,
the
the
nail
commercial,
salon.
I was thinking of the residential side.
no,
but
no.
Directly across the street, we
Yes.
have one of the applicants here this evening, the Italian restaurant. We have
Italian Pizza Kitchen,
correct.
yeah.
We have the dry cleaners on the corner of Albemarle. We have the nail salon
Correct.
there. And obviously, this property we're speaking of.
And you have Potbelly, right?
We did. We know that property sold, as you're probably aware of.
To Roadside.
And they took it back over those property. They took over the management. We did have the Wells Fargo Potbellies and the dry cleaners.
Okay. So the reason I wanted to, kind of make that connection is because I think you have a vested interest in how our neighborhood evolves and sort of the quality of life issues that my fellow commissioners have mentioned as the neighborhood evolves. And I think, if you polled the neighbors, I suspect, I'm really flabbergasted that you haven't gotten complaints. Because if you polled certainly people in this room, I suspect most of them would have had either car damage or frustrations, in this parking lot. And it's not just your piece of it. Part of the problem has been Burger King and Bread First and Days Inn and so forth. So it's hard, I think, to isolate complaints based on just this piece of it. But again, that brings me back to the larger question: how can we get you all to the table with these other parking lot owners, particularly if Chick-fil-A comes in, which is going to be a real nightmare. But how can we get you all to the table to discuss how to improve this, whether it's pervious pavement or traffic direction or visual, design improvements or ADA compliance? I mean, I'm sure Commissioner Gresham has a whole host of other suggestions.
We're open to meet with anyone and speak with any property owner in any neighborhood at any time on any subject that's relevant to what's happening in the neighborhood. So it's an open invitation. We do a lot of outreach and meet with a lot of community groups. I'm not sure. I heard a lot of different things that you said, and some have to do with more of where things are going, and then have to do with frustration. Pervious surface won't help the traffic one way or the other. It may help the water runoff, but it's not going to solve any. It's not going to solve the cars going through the alley. I don't know. We have the smallest of those lots, as you know, as you see, and it's critical for the zip stocking to be function. For him to operate, he has to have the parking, and so that's goes hand in hand with his service to the community.
Right, and honestly, I feel really torn because I think zips. I mean, I use it, and again, probably half the people in this room use it. I think it's a great draw to get people to Van Ness. I know people from Spring Valley who come over to Zips to get their dry cleaning done. But what can we do to make this more manageable? I don't know if would fewer spaces, or have you all had anyone look at this from a design perspective to see how it could be configured in a
that it was configured way back when with traffic planners and approved, because that's the only way you can park the cars due to the width and the depth of the lot and meet the parking size requirements. I'm not a parking person, but I know that it's been certified, the number of spaces and how we had it. It wasn't just done randomly at all.
Mm-hmm. But I think it's fair to say that it was done to maximize the number of cars that can fit.
Certainly.
Absolutely.
Certainly.
In 1961, we are now to 2016 with a lot of different regulations and dimensions architecturally and civil engineering wise as to how to lay out parking. And so I think Mary Beth has made some very good points. I hate to jump in here because I know she has all this stuff, but that's one of the major issues with this parking lot. I have pictures of cars. One car can go down this space. Where I'm shocked as she is that people haven't complained. I guess people are just being nice to each other, which I haven't seen some people be very nice to each other, but it is extremely difficult to maneuver a car or any truck or SUV or even smart car in this lot. The smart car does really well, but you literally have to back out.
Right.
The cars have to back out of their space because they go nose in like this,
Right.
which we all know, and that car has to back out, and no car can come in off the alley, so it congests the alley for the car that's in the back. Let's just take the back space, which is 100 feet. That car has to do a 3-point turn, which this car did, and then go nose out before another car can come in and take that space. We are talking about an exorbitant amount of time for these cars to maneuver, especially on a Saturday. During the week, it's not so bad, but Saturday is a nightmare. People are honking their horns and going crazy. It's just an antiquated parking lot as far as how to maneuver in the parking lot. And I think if there was some camaraderie here between I know you're coming for a zoning order and you haven't gone to DDOT, but this needs to be looked into because it is a congestion point.
Yeah, I want to raise another point too. I'm back there a lot, and I perched while my husband ran in to get the dry cleaning. And in 5 minutes, 5 cars coming into Zips didn't even park in the Zips lot. They parked in the Burger King lot, and ran in to get their dry cleaning. And again, it's bad enough now. I don't know what's going to happen if Chick-fil-A comes.
Or the people just sit in the alley and run in, and their cars in the alley.
So perhaps a suggestion would be, since we have a little bit of time here, to take a look at the operations of this parking lot, and, as Mary Beth had suggested, have a conversation with the owner of the adjacent parking lot, because the main problem with this one is it's a choke point. There's one way in, and you have to use that same way in as a way out. If you had an agreement with the adjacent parking lot, you could have it be a circulating parking lot. You go in and you come out a different way. If you opened up the back there, that's just an idea. You could come around then and out through the Burger King parking lot. It would make things flow much more easily. I have no idea if that would work, if that's feasible, if you could have an agreement like that. But the point is, are you willing, since we have a little bit of time, to look into some other options for that parking lot to make it more efficient, to make operating back there?
Yeah, and this is the first I've heard. I was not involved in the 2006 BZA renewal, which was the last one, and I assume from what I've read that DDOT was on board with that. It sounds like there may be greater car traffic back there now, but I would certainly reach out to DDOT too.
Cars are a lot larger. Cars get larger every year, it seems.
To fit all their dry cleaning, especially. Yeah.
With a lot more dry cleaning, which is happy for Zips.
And I would also ask, for Mr. Borger and for you, have you all spent any time back there?
Absolutely. The property manager expects it weekly, at least. I live up the street, so I use Zips too. I'm very familiar with it.
Okay.
Has anyone ever picked up garbage on that parking lot?
Well, that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
Sorry. Why don't you go through your list? Sorry.
Mary Beth, do you have some more items?
Do you want to?
Well, are you going to bring up paving and garbage?
And
Okay,
garbage.
I'll let her.
And landscaping?
Yeah.
I'll be happy to.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the point now is, let's give you a list of things that we would.
We're going to
be
give you a
interested in
bullet
seeing.
point list.
Okay, that would be helpful.
Okay. And we would love to work with the owner and Folger. Teresa and I have met Tara, who is one of your other property that is across the street, and we have other situations going on there, and you all have been wonderful to work with. So hopefully that continues. That's what we would really like to happen. But we just have problems that you all need to hear. One
that's
is
helpful.
the amount of spaces, number one, in the current parking lot that was planned in 1961, the sizes of the spaces, the clearance between parking spaces, the turning, maneuvering ratios. As Malachi said, if there could be a combined parking lot back there, it would certainly help tremendously with the traffic situation. The ADA compliant, whether you definitely have the one on your plan, but it's definitely not marked, and it does not have handicap markings, and also the logo. Striping, well, it doesn't have the striping, it doesn't have the logo.
Okay.
The rest of
Decal.
the lot needs to be striped.
The striping needs to be redone, because people sometimes don't know where to park, especially a couple of them.
The entire parking lot needs to be restriped?
The dumpster position, it causes a hazard at times, and from what I've seen, a lot of trash is around the dumpster. I don't know when it's picked up. I would like that to be looked in, or I think our commission would like that to be looked into, because then it just goes everywhere. The pervious pavement being made into impervious pavement. We know you have time, but we've given you some ideas about River Smart, which is a great program. We'd love to see somebody use it. It would be a great plus. The trash, I see you have pictures. I've seen your pictures. And there are some trash. Actually, the parking spaces look pretty clean, except over where, and this is something we need to look into, commissioners, is these barrels.
That's
in
Burger
the
King.
Burger King
Yeah,
that
I saw
are
that.
a mess and trash, and we need to get that taken care of. But there's trash all in that area, and I just took pictures.
And honestly, this was not taken by Border. This was a colleague that went out and just took pictures
Right,
one
and
morning.
that's great that they did this, but this is what it looks like today. It's a mess. So if it's being patrolled, or if it's property managers are inspecting it, we would certainly like this to be policed more and cleaned up. There are neighbors that live behind here. I don't know if you're aware of them, Maliki. There's a couple of neighbors that complain about the trash on the hillside, and
Those have been recent complaints?
in the last year.
Huh. So I was just out of curiosity, because I don't know the
2006
process, but why wasn't the owner told or the property manager told? They just came to you as the ANC and complained about it?
Just
But it
complained.
never got back
No.
to the, okay, that's too bad.
But we're doing that now.
Okay.
And there have been complaints, and none of the commissioners here were in 2006, so we don't know what was said at that particular point without going back in our records. I know from a previous colleague who is deceased that there were always problems with the trash in this area. So there have been complaints, or it's been brought up at every renewal. The question is also on the wall, you show a picture of the parking lot wall, which is not very nicely painted anymore.
That's against the Days
Is
Inn,
that,
right?
Days Inn, that's their property. So maybe we can work with them on making this better.
Big green wall.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we can plant. There's no plantings here except at the end, at the slope.
Which is in keeping with the landscape plan.
Right, from 1961.
No, from 2006.
2006, well, where's that in here?
That's exhibit, the last exhibit.
Is this it? Is that the 2006?
Sorry, it's so small. I can get you a larger one.
Yeah. And it does show the handicap space there, that's why I was referring to that. And yes, we know the architect. Where was I? In the Brad first one that you represented, we asked for additional planting. I don't know how this lot could be done, but that was one of the criteria because of the way the Burger King, the car wash cars came out. They weren't supposed to be, they were using some of that site for wiping off the cars, and they put planters at both the Burger King, car wash, and Bread First location. Those planters have somewhat moved off of the Burger King area, and now the car wash is again, I know that's not your
Okay,
property.
yeah, let's stay focused on this one.
But I'm segueing back to that. If there's some way that we can add more greenery.
Yeah, like a trellis or, a green wall or something along that wall.
The
could
Days
be-
Inn?
Yeah.
So you mentioned that that's something you'll follow up directly with Days Inn about? I wrote that down. Is that not true?
Yes, I guess we'll have to. That's not their, that's not their
I
property.
think that there was a suggestion that the several parking lot owners meet together. So
together.
that could be something that gets folded in if there's a Days Inn owner and a Zips owner and a Bread First owner and a car wash owner. The whole idea is to holistically look at this site, and we would love to participate with that. But if
Right.
you guys could take some initiative, that would go a long way. As you start looking at parking stripes and everything else, you have to sort of step back and think about how this whole thing may work together. But Well, this
5
is
small
important,
parking
but-
lots back there is less efficient than one large parking lot. And so if we can get you guys to think about it as one large parking lot and maybe work together.
And we appreciate that you're open to that invitation.
Venice Main Street would be happy to coordinate a meeting like that, because all business owners are really great and open to suggestions, so
Right.
we can
Right.
put them together. We want them to
Okay.
see Van Ness, so.
So let me make a suggestion to move this forward. We have some ideas, I think that we've shared with you that they have to do with the traffic flow, essentially, and with the maintenance, the trash, the striping, and then also just the appearance generally. And so if we could put some of that down on paper and send that to you, and if maybe you could work with Teresa and to put something together to talk to the other parking lot owners back there, and just spend some time over the next month thinking through some of these issues, and then we can revisit it next month, because I think you still have some time before
Yes,
the
we do.
ZCA hearing.
The hearing's on July 19th.
And I would really invite Mr. Klein to come spend some time back there. I think that would be productive.
We would love him to meet him.
Okay?
Okay.
Does that work? Yep, okay. David, sorry, you didn't have a chance.
No,
to-
I appreciated going through all that, and my main focus was where I think Teresa ended up with trying to pull everybody together. And if I've got additional thoughts, I think we can get the list to them in the categories you suggested.
We'll come
Sounds
in
good.
over the next week to put something on paper for you.
Okay,
of
I think I
ideas.
have the general idea, and I'll start.
You can see where
But
we're
it would be
headed.
great if you had a compilation of it.
Great.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate
Thanks.
you coming.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming. and-
I did want to make a comment.
Would you just come to the microphone so we have the record, please?
My name is Beth. I'm the property manager for the building. I did want to let you know that we do have a porter that works for our company, and he stops by that site first thing in the morning a few times a week, actually, to do cleaning. This is the first time that we're really hearing all of these complaints, so we're taking everything in, and, we'll certainly take your suggestions and see what we can do about it. But I do ask that if anybody receives complaints, I will leave my business card, that you forward them to me, because it's kind of hard for us to know what we need to improve upon if we don't know that there's a problem.
Correct. Great.
So-
We thank you. We appreciate
glad
you
to-
working with us.
We're certainly open to working with the other, restaurant owners and, the car wash and everybody into trying to improve the traffic flow and everything. We're open to everything, but this is just the first time we're hearing about any of this. So if you could just give us some time to come up with some plans and possibly meet with other people, then we'd really appreciate it.
You can
We
fix the car
appreciate
wash.
Not much I can really do about that.
I did have one last question. I don't know how there's an assessment made of all the park. So there's no in and out, especially on the weekend. So hope that you guys sorry to have cars parking there for 2 hours on a weekend, but it doesn't serve the interests or needs of Zips.
Well, by
On
the
a
way,
related
not all the spaces are Zips. I mean, some of the other tenants.
Yes, some
Right,
belong
right.
to the commercial tenants in the
Yeah,
building.
yeah.
Mhm.
If I could just add one other comment. Brett Virgo, who founded Zips and's been there since the inception of that, is an extraordinarily cooperative man. We'll talk to you, and he can give you insight about parking and traffic, and I've had great conversations with him. Their busiest time is at rush hour in the morning, and so that's why no one can park in front and drop and run in. They have to go into the back, which is he believes to be the most difficult time. I would suggest that engage him, because he will explain, and he knows more about what's going on in that block than I will ever know, and maybe some stuff that you all don't know as well.
We needed him for the Chick-fil-A.
I just suggest to you, it would be a good resource to talk with.
What's his name again?
His name is Brett Vega, V-A-G-O, and he's there 6 days a week.
Right.
You
He's a
have an
tall
email
male, probably younger than I am, probably
20s.
40. 40, slightly receding hairline from where you're at.
Pat, you wanted to make a
Pat's
point?
office is in the right at the back rear entrance.
We do have a, Teresa, I don't know if this is appropriate, but we do have an upcoming parking study as part of the Van Ness Main Street's economic development committee. I know that the guidelines for that have been kind of set, but once we have some of that info back, it might be worth taking a look at the public space parking.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So we will look forward to working with you over the next month.
Great, thank you.
Teresa, you'll work with Teresa.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move on to our last item on the agenda, which is the public space application for the Murch Elementary modernization, the Reno Road curb cut. So, speaking to an empty house.
I love it. Good Tracy,
lots of
you
people are
stayed
still-
here. We have another gentleman over here.
You're going to get an A on your paper tomorrow. Okay, I'm going to write your teacher and tell her.
Extra credit.
Yeah, that's right.
Credit.
Would you, do you want to do this presentation?
Yeah. But I noticed there were a lot of other students here.
Yeah, they're not going to get A's.
They didn't.
You're going to get
they
the
didn't
A.
Okay, so I think we can discharge with this pretty quickly because I reached out to Patrick at DPS. Is he DPS or DGS? He's
DCPS. Yes, he's DCPS.
Asked him to come and present this. He said that things were in flux. He didn't have enough information to present to the community. So on the basis of that, I don't think we need to spend a lot of time debating amongst ourselves a plan that's in flux. So in terms of what the plan is, it's basically just a conceptual plan for a curb cut on Reno that would allow access to the proposed parking lot and space for a truck to come in to make deliveries, turn around, and go back out. It seems fine in principle. All of the plans, all of the design plans that are being considered include access from Reno. So my proposal is, since we have to offer comments on this in TOPS, is to say that revisions are required. We need to see what the final plans are. We are supportive in principle of a curb cut on Reno, but we reserve judgment on the specifics until we see a specific plan on exactly where the curb cut will be, what are the public safety, pedestrian safety implications, the traffic implications on Reno, and all the other details that we would need to consider.
Pedestrian safety.
Pedestrian safety.
So help me understand that we're supportive in principle without knowing any of that.
That there would be a curb cut on Reno.
But that we don't, pending traffic plan, what the final designs look like.
Simply because all of the design plans that are being considered for the school, for the new school, include a curb cut on Reno. So.
And what's the significance of providing that statement today, that we're supportive in principle? Why is that needed today?
I agree.
We don't have to. We could decline to comment.
I want to be supportive of the school and supportive of the design, that there seem to be so many variables there. I'm not trying to push back. If it's helpful to have that statement, I'm willing to discuss that.
I don't think it's helpful to have that statement. I think it's a problem to have that statement because we do not have a final plan. We have a what would you call it? A modified plan from where the community agreed to a plan. The SIT team and community and school agreed to an October 2015 design presentation. That design presentation does have a curb cut on Reno Road. It is for parking and loading. There is, in this particular application, conceptual application, it is also asking in the drawing for a curb cut on Davenport.
No, that's gone now.
They've taken that one out?
That's gone now. Right.
Okay, so that's been modified.
That's been modified.
Okay.
But we need to see those plans.
Correct, because this is what we have right now. I am not in support of making any comment other than we need additional information from DCPS, DGS, and their design team. I mean, that's where I stand. I think that's where the SIT team stands.
No,
Maybe
the SIT,
not, but.
when I reached out to the SIT team, the responses back were that there's going to be a curb cut on any plan that ends up going forward will include a curb cut. So they're fine with a curb cut in principle on Reno.
In principle.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. We would also be fine in principle, but we reserve the right to comment on the details once we see an actual plan. That yes, you can design a plan. You can design a plan that includes a curb cut on Reno. Go ahead and do that, but then we will comment on that actual plan.
Yeah, because we don't know the size of the curb cut. We don't know how many.
Which would be different than from us saying,
right.
No, we're opposed to a curb cut on Reno. We would only countenance a curb cut on 36th Street, or only countenance the existing curb cut on Davenport. That would be a different message. And so what we would be signaling is, no, we're fine to go ahead and do your design with an access on Reno, but we're not giving a blanket agreement.
I think you're being very clear, and I appreciate that, and I understand Sally's point as well. My concern is not just what DCPS and DGS are going to come back with. In any of the plans, it sounds like we'll end up with some type of curb cut on Reno.
Mm-hmm.
So from that governmental perspective, maybe we should have an agreement in principle. I'm coming from a different perspective of not knowing where DDOT has been on this or what the traffic issues are on Reno. I'd love to support a curb cut, but I don't personally have enough information to know what the repercussion is from a traffic perspective. Even the best case curb cut, what will that mean in terms of worst case of traffic on Reno? I don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard for me to support an agreement in principle with reserving rights, because it does send a message that, well, if you extend your best efforts, you'll probably be okay somehow. And again, as a public school dad, I fully support merge, and I want to say, if anybody from the SID is listening and is frustrated, please don't be.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to go to bat any way I can for the school, but I'm having a hard time understanding what this traffic impact is going to be on Reno.
We have a draft. Do we have comments from DDOT, Ryan Westrom,
Mm-hmm.
and his.
He supports it in principle.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's helpful.
He recognizing that given the strange configuration of this site and the fact that MPS has a third of the property, it's difficult to actually situate access and curb cuts. Right. And that he would prefer to see it elsewhere, but given the specific constraints on this site, he recognizes that Reno Road is probably the best option.
And again, this curb cut, I'm not trying to speak over anybody, is designed for parking and loading. So like the milk truck and the food truck coming in and out, the trash truck coming in and out, and then the X number of teachers parking there.
Right. It would be access to a parking lot in the current plan, a parking lot with 19 spaces on site. So that would be the access, and that would be used primarily at the beginning of the day and after dismissal. And then during the day, you would have delivery trucks coming in and out there.
Is that right, Tracy? But what about the October one? The October had more parking spaces.
There was a July one that was approved by the community, and that one had underground parking.
Correct.
Which allowed for more, something like
35 spaces. Mm-hmm.
But because it was over budget, and because the swing space is now coming out of the renovation budget, DGS came back with another design, specifically underground parking, and then raised the gym so that there would be 19 spaces underneath.
So it's really not truly underground parking. It is partly out of the ground, which all of us need to understand. The original October was underground parking. The conceptual, the plan right now is half out of.
That was accessed on.
Sorry, what was your?
And that was the Mears community was on board with the Reno Road access to an underground parking.
Correct.
And a lot of people thought it might calm traffic on Reno Road. There's a lot of trouble with speeders there, so traffic itself is not an issue. Pedestrian safety is, and so we figured. A lot of people figured, and I speak for myself really, that people, and I
I can just briefly provide a Hearst Elementary perspective.
Yes, please.
Well, in 37th Street, that runs in front of Hearst, and then there was an idea of putting a service drive behind the back of the school, so that's where the loading and unloading for the cafeteria and the trash all takes place. So instead, we ended up with a curb cut, the existing curb cut parking lot that bisects the school from the playground. And so you have 15, 16 parking spaces there for the teachers. And then the trash truck and the cafeteria trucks coming in and out. You can try to impose conditions as a principal or even in a zoning that these trucks come in and out at certain times of the day. Well, good luck with that. It's not going to work, you're right. And so I haven't looked at these designs, to be honest with you, but it to the degree we can support the sit and even the architect, I'm guessing, in mitigating as much as possible any of that bisection issue or any of those middle of the day issues.
Exactly the same. It bisects the school from the playground.
Yeah.
But there's nowhere else to fit all
Right.
of the
I'm just concerned, without knowing more, that we're sending a signal like, go ahead, as opposed to, are we really extending the best efforts? I know you guys have been beating, the school and the city have been beating their heads, I'm sure. But, I'm just concerned that if we're sending a signal that, you've got this extra 5-10 million now, what are you really doing as a final design?
$5 million, and it goes to the swing space, so they can get back to a reasonable design.
And so what are they getting?
hopefully.
So what are
But
they
we
getting
don't
back
know
to?
what we're getting back, because as
Right.
Jackie just said, we don't know if we're going to get. They're going to get another budget situation.
But whatever we get back to, my understanding from the CIT is whatever we get back to with 5 million and hopefully 5 million, another 5 million value engineered, so there would be 10 million extra extra resources to play with here. That would get us back to a design, but there is no design on the table that doesn't include the access from Reno.
And you're correct, but that.
Right.
Yes, and it's unfortunate that that is the only solution, but that is the solution that the architectural team has come back to the SIT team in the community with.
Right.
Just trying to put too much on a very small site.
Very small site, that's right.
It doesn't really bisect the school.
No, it doesn't bisect. It's not like yours.
Yeah.
Hearst had a whole different thing also where the neighbors wouldn't allow the trash trucks to go down their street and to the back.
And it's
which is
generally
a
resolved
different-
itself, but it's
yeah.
still an not ideal outcome.
We don't have, the merch doesn't quite have, it does not have that same condition.
Right.
It could have that same condition if there were other curb cuts considered either from 36 Davenport.
They would create
Yes.
Okay, well then maybe this is the best of
So
limited worlds.
here's what I propose. Why don't I craft our comments, the comments that we put into tops, and I'll circulate them. You can take a look at the language, and if you feel like it goes too far or not far enough, we can tweak it before I actually enter it into tops.
Okay, so is this just an entry into tops? Is it an official ANC? It's not a resolution. It's not a vote of approval. It is just comments into tops?
Comments into tops, right? And we
Okay, that's a whole different.
with our position. I mean, you have to put your position.
Well, you put your position, but it's not a resolution saying all these things that we would want to say about
Right,
it.
no, these would be our comments at the tops.
Okay.
So we're not voting on anything?
I don't think we need to vote on anything. I wanted to have a discussion about it with the community.
So Malachi, this sounds really good. It sounds like you're collecting, but is it sort of, how is it titled, or how is it, I mean, what's the overall core message? If it is, it's an agreement in principle, that's okay with me personally. If it's sort of deemed as a comment with all the other comments thrown in, it's.
I guess I thought it was an public space. Is it a public space application?
Yes.
Does it have a number?
It
Yes.
does. It's a public space application.
So we are commenting on it,
Right, we are commenting on it.
just like we did with Chick-fil-A.
I hate
Just
to
like-
say it, but I think we really need to vote
Yeah.
on something because
I do too.
I mean, this is what's going to be given great weight.
Mhm.
And so to just say, agree to agree.
Yeah.
you know, that we're going to circulate language, which from a technical perspective would not be a public forum. I mean, I'm sorry to be bureaucratic about it, but I think honestly we probably need to vote on something, even if it's just the tenor of what the comments are going to be.
What about what you wrote and what you and I both wrote in back to the SIT team?
Right, and that was my original proposal, so I can make that into a motion. I would say, I'll make a motion that we agree in principle to the curb cut, and with regard to this application, we agree in principle to the curb cut in Reno, but reserve the right to comment on the details once a final plan is agreed.
Can I make a friendly amendment and just couch it in terms of the only designs on the table require a Reno curb cut?
Right.
So there are no other alternatives on the table. I think that's important because, I mean, honestly, I would not really support a curb cut on Reno, but for the fact that it's the only option.
There's no other option, right.
So if you don't mind
Me too.
couching it,
No,
I mean,
me
I can
too.
support it if you couch it that way.
Okay, and I was hoping that we would see something on 36 instead, because there are curb cuts for, for the apartment building across the street there anyway.
But there's no way. There's no
There's no-
physical. There's
there's
no
no design.
physical way that a design can be off of 36th Street, unless it was at the parking lot that's there now with the trailers. But you're going up, I don't know, 15 feet. I mean, I don't know how it could happen. I don't think we've seen any design on the SIT team for any curb cuts on 36 or any type of construction off of 36,
Not
other
for a
than the
long time.
infill, landscaping, et cetera, stormwater retention. So, and that came out of the feasibility studies also. So, I mean, the only place to have a curb cut would be, again, on Davenport, where it roughly is, or wherever it would be on Davenport, anywhere along that stretch, in the, 3600 block, or on Reno Road, to get any kind of parking off-site, on-site parking.
Okay, so I would say the motion would read, recognizing that all the designs on the table require a curb cut on Reno. The ANC agrees in principle with such a curb cut on Reno, but stress that we reserve the right to comment on the details, the placement, public safety issues, pedestrian safety issues. We'll go through the list of an actual final plan, something like that.
It's good.
Okay.
But I still have a
Are you
problem
comfortable with agreeing in principle?
I am personally, yes.
Okay.
Can you just clarify why we're doing this now before the final plan is
Yeah.
given to us? Like what-
This is apparently this is the way the DCPS does this with them. They get a conceptual approval for a curb cut on in a particular area, so that they know how to go ahead and proceed with their design.
Okay.
Because they don't want to spend a lot of time and money on a design only to find out that there's no way they could get that curb cut.
I mean, this is from the SIT team. I'm sorry. It does not appear that any design that includes a parking facility off will require some kind of curb cut on Reno. But how big, what it looks like, how it will impact traffic, whether it will need to accommodate trucks, remains a complete mystery. We have not been given any detailed design or dimensions. I mean, I could go on and on what people
Right.
are saying. I think we should go back to public space and deny this application and say we deny it because we don't have the information. And they've got to prove it. That puts DGS and DGS and DCPS and their architectural team, they have to go back and verify it. They have to give a decent plan that we can respond to, that the SIT can respond to. Right now, the SIT is writing that everything's a mystery. Yes, we all in principle understand that's the only place for a curb cut, but this is almost like a Chick-fil-A. I mean, I hate to say this, but it is. We don't know, we even have less on this than we had on Chick-fil-A. We had 61 drawings on Chick-fil-A, and we had a massive public space, plans, and people coming and presenting to us 3 times. DGS hasn't even come here to present to us. I don't think we should even respond to it other than in a negative.
There do seem to be some competing interests, like as you responded to Pat, there is this idea that, you know, there's a time issue and a money issue, and how much time and money are spent on design. Well, they've frankly done most of their designing. Now they're coming back and retweaking and looking at what these curb cuts are looking like. So I can see both sides, and I understand Sally's point well, and then show us the money, show us what this is going to look like. It shouldn't take that much more effort to come back and present that to us, but without really knowing the politics of how urgent this stuff is, it's difficult to make a decision.
So wait, I have a question for you, David. Since you've gone through the Hearst, which is great, process with DGS and DCPS and the whole neighborhood situation, how would you respond if this was a conceptual design? How would you have responded to what we are seeing right here?
Well, I didn't wear an ANC hat at that point. You could speak as a PTA president. You could speak as a neighborhood parent. You could speak and work with the neighbors and have different voices. But I think the ANC has an additional responsibility. It was easy at the local level, community level, to just send as many of those signals as possible, because you just wanted them to rock and roll. You just wanted them to go. So you cleared as much brush as you could. The ANC could be in that same position, but we also seem to have a different additional responsibility of good government here and due diligence.
And we're supposed to be responding to our constituents.
Couldn't this help get the ball moving? I mean, that's what I'm hearing you say, that if we give a, kind of vague nod to the Reno Road thing, that it'll get things moving.
We can make it vaguer by sending that message, saying we recognize that there's going to be a curb cut on Reno. We accept that. We want to look at the details. We want to know the size, the location, the public safety implications. And so instead of saying we approve this, we could say revisions required. We want to see the final plan.
Conditional upon,
It can go both ways. There can be pros and cons to both of these recommendations.
Hear from Tracy?
I can only speak for me, but I agree with the brush clearing. I think, it'd be nice to say, to show DGS, we really want this, get this moving. But I also agree with the conditional support. And I would love to have some pressure put to DCPS and DGS to be more transparent about this, because really they've been a black box, and it's been frustrating for everyone. I'm only tangentially involved, and it's frustrating. So, any message the ANC can send on that.
So what
we
do you
can say
say?
revisions required. We can say agree with conditions.
I think agree with conditions, or agree in principle with conditions, and here are the conditions, and come on, you guys.
Right.
Let's be a little more communicative.
But do you think that's going to help? Playing devil's advocate, I don't think any of this is helping.
I mean, honestly, I don't think any of it. But just getting out there and on the record.
I mean, I'm surprised nobody's put a stake in the ground and said, we don't agree with this. We don't agree with the whole process.
It's the brush clearing thing again, too. We really want this school.
Well, you want the school, but do you want the conditions on what's happening?
The curb cut is really the least of our concerns, I think, at this point. Honestly.
So if we ask for increased transparency in the resolution, would that, we can ask.
I mean, I guess any comment can go in tops.
Well,
but,
yeah, one of the conditions would be agreement on a final.
At this point, it's been 2 months.
Yeah, they're not talking.
I mean, they're not talking. We don't know anything.
We don't know anything. 2 months. March 24th was their last public meeting.
And they could be already designed at this point.
I mean, they're going to start. They've already started packing up the school to move out on June 17th.
That's why I made the comment I made to Jackie Stanley about DGS.
So, I mean, that's an option. We could say, since they declined to even come and present it to us, we don't consider this to be a real viable application, and we object to this application, and we look forward to seeing a final plan that we can actually consider.
That would make me comfortable.
I would be more comfortable.
Going the other way seems like we're holding them to a lesser standard than we've held other sort of
Correct.
cut applications recently, and we might going forward. It's just, I don't see why, I mean, I see why it's a different case, but I think it's somewhat precedent setting to say, hey, we're gonna roll over for you guys because we trust you a little bit more or something,
Well, I think
You
that's the
know,
opposite. We don't trust them at all. But
if timing becomes an urgent issue, or they need, permission, that we're more than happy to call a special meeting if they want to come in and present it.
That's true.
And particularly since you've experienced such difficulties with communication before, it is especially important in my mind, in light of that, to make it clear what our expectations are as an ANC for being informed and engaged, and that we need to be treated as a partner in a good faith way if we're going to sign off on it.
And we haven't been treated at all. No one's come and presented anything to us.
Okay, so I will amend my motion to say, I move that we object to this application.
There you go.
I accept that as a friendly.
Thank you. That's a very friendly amendment.
That we object on the basis that we don't have enough information, and DCPS has told us that there isn't enough information even to present to the community. They declined to come to our meeting
You can say
because
that.
they
They
said there's
declined to come
nothing
to the meeting.
to present yet.
Mhm.
So on the basis of that, we object to this, and we look forward to considering an actual plan with actual details once it's agreed. We can say in our comments that we recognize that there needs to be a curb cut.
Right, that's what I was going to say.
Reno.
You could add that next in it, but I think you're
We
right by going.
object to this
Right.
particular
Starts
application
out.
on the basis that.
Mhm. You send a strong message.
Okay, so I will.
You agree, Tracy? Okay.
I tried to write the page where
I'll craft it and circulate it as long as we agree on the message and agree on the
You
opposition.
agree, Mary Beth, on the message?
So my motion is to.
Yeah, I just don't want to slow things down.
I'll make a motion to oppose
I personally
this application,
I think that's a problem.
and I will circulate specific comments for us to agree on. Okay. Is there a second? All in favor? Passes 6-0. Okay,
That was good.
good. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, then that brings us to other business. Any other business anyone wants to raise? Anything with the printer we need to talk about? Or?
Well, it's arrived. It's in my car. I'm going to make the handoff tonight.
Great. The scanner printer?
We purchased a combination scanner printer. It can print in color or black and white. And we got a bunch of ink. I basically got as much ink as I could, so we don't have to do it again. And it was something $297. We approved $300, so we should be well supplied for now.
Okay.
Great.
And treasurer's report. Oh, sorry.
Where's it
Please
gonna
go
live?
ahead.
Oh, where's it gonna live?
So we haven't quite figured that out. I was going to hand it off to Rachel today because I need some help scanning
Thank you,
things for
Tracy.
our quarterly report, which I'm hoping to approve at our next meeting. Although I welcome suggestions. I know this was something that came up. Anybody?
I mean, are there regulations where it can be?
Should we talk about our office as far as,
Not tonight.
well, you're asking for a place to live because there's equipment in that room.
So, we have a reason to give it to Rachel right now.
Yeah.
Let's
So
do that.
maybe for the
And
next
if there's-
meeting.
We can look into if there is a reason why it can't be in Virginia.
Yeah. Maybe I'll email Gottlieb
Yeah.
and double check and find out about that, and I'll report back on that to you guys. But for now, it's going home with Rachel for the purposes of the financial report. Since our last meeting, we had $2,126.86 in expenditures. That was wages and employee taxes, quarterly taxes to the District of Columbia, and federal taxes, the scanner and ink, and our internet fee for the live stream. And the current balance in the register is $107,742.17.
And so nothing that we need to approve tonight?
Nope.
Treasurer?
No, so I do expect that next meeting I'll have our quarterly report. It's a little bit late this time because we're transitioning the responsibilities, but I've alerted the auditor to that, and we discussed it, and that's not a problem.
Okay. We lost Tracy. Okay.
Two quick items.
Yeah.
My apologies, but I didn't realize I was not receiving emails that were sent to the ANC 3F commissioners, that tagline or title line. And Pat,
You should be on that now.
If
Well,
it's,
he's
if-
not.
You haven't gotten any of it?
No,
No,
he didn't
I
get.
didn't
You have to
realize.
I
join
sent
it,
him.
though, right?
He did join it.
You joined it? Did you affirmatively click that you?
I believe, so it's Dickinson ANC 3F
Oh, yeah.
at Gmail. Did I?
No, you did everything that you needed to, and I still have to set up the filter for it. We can talk about this later.
Yeah. Oh, I just wanted to apologize if anyone had been trying to just use that general listserv.
We all have.
Yeah, I know. We can talk about it another time, but I would like to see what our grant application process is like and whether we want to make that a more public.
It's on the website.
It is on the
Whole
website.
thing's
Yep,
on the
the whole
website.
Okay, okay. Good.
And
I hear
It
there's
wasn't
an
when
opening
you
on the
were
grants
applying for
committee,
grants.
too.
Sorry?
If you're interested. I hear there's an opening on the grants committee as well.
Woo!
You
Well,
have
send
more
me an email
experience
through
with
that.
grants
that-
than
Yeah,
any of
I was
us.
going to say, you'd be a perfect one on that.
Happy to help out.
Good. So, anything else?
The only thing is, and we can again do this offline, but I would like to discuss whether we have a formal ANC ad hoc committee for settlement agreement, comparison, moving forward, new model that I've written everyone about, or whether we want to do this as an offline committee. We can talk about that at the mid-monthly, and I'd also like us to pick a date for the mid-month meeting, because we have competing meetings with Venice Main Street at that mid-month, so I've got to change one or another one.
So mid-month would be May 31st.
I mean, if we can come up with a standard.
Memorial Day.
Yeah, just
I
opposite
just really
Tuesdays
need-
or Wednesdays or something.
June 7th, because actually there'll be,
There's 5 weeks
it'll be
between.
5 weeks, so we could do it on the 7th. It'll be 3 weeks from today and 2 weeks until the next one.
The 7th works for me.
The
So
7th
I'll be out
works
of
for
town
me.
on the 31st.
The 7th will work for me. Do we want to do it at the same time, the same location?
We don't have to do it, let's do the same time, let's do it after work. Doesn't have to be the same location, I thought we might move around unless.
That's great, yeah.
Spread the wealth.
Spread the wealth a little bit. yeah.
Well, I know
So-
Mary Beth and I both had a little trouble getting there on time last time. It's a little hard to park in that area, so maybe somewhere near the metro. So
Okay, we could,
Or
and we could do
maybe
it
make it 6:30. That would be a little better, I think, for people.
6:30 on the 7th, and if somebody wants to reach out to a restaurant in there, I'm trying not to do Acacia since we do so much at Acacia.
Yeah, no, it's.
I mean, he's
And
very
some
gracious
restaurants
to
are
us,
just
but-
don't have the where we could sit.
Why don't
and-
we do Tesoro?
Burger King.
It's
Good
really
job.
gross.
Let's.
We're still live.
Are we still on? Sorry. But
So-
I'd love to send him some business.
Who?
Tesoro. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's send him some business. All right.
Okay, good. So, June 7th, 6:30, I'll reach out to Sorrel about getting us a table, quiet table.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, motion to adjourn,
second.
all in favor?
Aye.
So it is adjourned. Okay.
And 7th, okay.
For you, Maliki.
Do you need us to sign your
You've sat through the whole thing.
your
So
teacher
I
form?
need some signatures
Okay.
here.
Oh.
The show and
Rachel's
tell.
good.
The show and
Yeah.
tell.
I'm gonna need Maliki.